now we're a group of like 40 to 50 people that show up on a fairly regular basis. And that's growing. But as this gets to thousands of people, if you just invite people to this group, you might never actually see the person you invited. And so you're inviting someone to join a bunch of strangers every single week. What we want to do is make teams be the welcome center. You invite someone to your team to contribute to your team, and then they also contribute to the weekly meeting. The other aspect of teams is it's designed to grow and divide, grow and divide. So a team might start out as 4 or 5, 6 people, but as it grows closer to 12, it should be focusing on dividing into 2 teams, which then continue to grow. If we cap the team size at 6 people, then you couldn't grow and divide. And it's not necessarily about collaborating like you're all working on the exact same thing. A team could be composed of people that are doing, some people are doing web page stuff, some people are doing social media stuff, some people are facilitating stuff. It should be more like friends that are holding people accountable toward the mission. Yes, they can be aligned on like common interests, right? You could have a chess team where all the people are into chess and fractally, and they like to hang out and be friends. And the purpose of the team is to give each person additional accountability by having their team judge their contribution to the public good of the fractal and divide it, which gives more consistent results, and it allows you to build reputation and whatnot. Even though you might not be working together, you might all the team members might be doing completely independent work, but they're still on a team and they're talking to each other on a regular basis, and they're holding each other accountable to the cause and so forth. And so as a community, we allocate twice the budget to someone who's on a team for their individual contributions as we do to someone who's not on a team, because they have a team that has to reach consensus on how to divide the team's funds. And that team has a team reputation that has to be maintained, because if your team is just taking the extra money and not doing anything, then that's actually going to work against all the individuals on the team. So that's the reason why I think the analogies to corporate working environments for teams is not necessarily the best. And maybe team is the bad thing, is the wrong nomenclature. Maybe small group or your friends or what. Maybe we find a different word than team. If team is making people think that that's all has to be focused on one objective, and instead of a team being a microcosm of the greater fractal. So that's why I don't consider it double dipping. I see it as each person gets recognized for their individual contributions, and they get judged by strangers, and their team also gets to allocate some of their budget to them. And so you got like reviews of people that don't know you and reviews of close people. And some teams might choose to say, well, we're just going to pass through 1-to-1, whatever you bring in, you get out, and we're not going to provide any additional filter. That's the closest thing to double dipping there would be. And I think those types of teams should be looked down upon from the broader group. That said, a team could be doing all kinds of things with their funds in terms of providing infrastructure for the community and things that are not necessarily benefiting any single person. So a team could be pooling their funds for the purposes of purchasing say ads on the internet or something, right? So the team has this budget. The team picks one of their team members to go buy the ads, and the team holds that team member accountable for actually having bought the ads, and they can verify that the money was spent where it was supposed to be. The team is kind of like a giant multi-sig group. And the team is also a mini consensus aggregator. It's kind of like a congressional district, if you will, with respect to the global governance, right? They pick a representative to the top, and they can change the representative at any time. So that is the role of the team, which is to provide long-term stable relationships, which people need in a community, to provide accountability, and to provide mini consensus groups that are stable over time that can then be represented up to the global governance. All of that said, I am actively considering alternative ways of teams to be compensated aside from direct one-to-one matching of the individual's contributions. And there's so many ideas in the ideation phase. I don't want to say any particular direction, but it's entirely possible that we could repeat the fractal governance process with team leaders. If you had 1,000 teams, which means we have 6,000 members, you could easily see that we could have the team leads meet, and the team budgets could be allocated just like the individual budgets, and the teams would be judging other teams. That would be a more complicated way. Unfortunately, that's not scale invariant. You can't do that till you get to a certain size, which would create a phase shift in how things are governed and how tokens are distributed at different sizes. It's one of the things we've been trying to avoid. So I'm considering the options, including having the team income be the average of the levels of the individuals, and then take the team average and put that on a Fibonacci curve, and so forth. So I'm considering things that make it not as straightforward to take the individual's contribution and just pass it back to them, because the value of the team is not necessarily a linear sum of the individuals. There's certain principles that we have that we recognize is that we are producing collaborative value. The sum of our individual contributions is producing more value than what they add up to. We're creating value that cannot be achieved by individuals working alone, right? There's this collaborative value we're producing together, and we're trying to make sure we all realize it. And that's true at the whole fractal level. It's also true at the team level. And so it's not a zero-sum game. We can't eliminate teams. And so it's just a matter of figuring out how do we hold teams accountable to, I guess, minimize making them just passive double dipping on the individual contributions. And any person who's on a team that's just taking their team rewards and dividing it back, well, if that's what your team's doing, then in the weekly meetings, people are going to say, all right, we're just recognizing your individual. You're not really on a team, so we're going to deduct your individual contribution by half because your team is just a non-participant shell. So that's some of the thoughts I have on that. Matt.
Thanks for that, Dan. Let me challenge that a bit. Just trying to represent Jordan. I have read his article. I talked with him a bit, and you sort of addressed it in the immediate last comment. But the idea of, I think there's two interesting ideas that Jordan brought up in his article, and then in some post discussion some of us had. So one is just the formation of cartels, which you sort of addressed there. Like, what is to stop a group of 12 people that say, our goal is to just be ones. We're going to show up every week, and our value is to provide consensus input, and we only want to be one, but we're going to actually get two because we're a cartel, because we'll get all the respect of a team. And then the other side of that, what's to stop a bunch of people who don't really align with, like, they're not, they're not building your fractally platform, but they sort of have a common interest. And they decide, our interests are close enough that we think we can convince our peers in groups that we are a logical team. And we're going to get as big as possible, like everybody that's interested in, providing contributions of type X or contributions of type Y. We're going to get 12 of us together just so we get that team.
Let's use the chess club example. We want to sponsor a chess tournament. It's not necessarily related to fractal governance at all, but we all love chess. We are the chess team, and we're going to double our individual contributions by showing up, just getting a 1, and now we actually get a 2. Now, keep in mind, a 2 is going on the Fibonacci sequence, and so 2 times their individual contributions of 1 does not really help them. But let's assume the team's mixed. They're doing things for the fractal as individuals, and then they're doubling it, and then using the extra proceeds that they're getting to fund their side project. I think people would see whether or not the team is actually doing that. And I think that if the idea is we want every single person to be on a team, then you could view it as not being on a team is a penalty for not having the accountability. The team compensation, that's really just baseline. That's just your individual. It's just half of your individual compensation is subject to the consensus of a team that you choose to be on, instead of subject to some random group of people. Now they're not double dipping, really, from that perspective. They're just they're recognized for their individual contribution as measured by 2 metrics: a random group of their peers and a team of peers, right? And that is, I think, a better way of viewing things, instead of saying, well, they should only get their individual and the team is extra. No, the team is 50% of what their individual contributions should be. That's another way of viewing the same situation.
So would you support, so Jordan had an interesting idea that he's gonna form a white hat hacker team to sort of demonstrably prove whether you're right or he is right. For example, there'll be 6 to 12 people that form a team, and we're going to advertise to Genesis, we're forming this team, but you're not going to know who's on this team. But our goal is to, look back after 12 weeks, and we promise to distribute the respect back that we got from this white hat hacker team back to the community. But we want to demonstrate that we've found a penetration vulnerability to Genesis or not. But the idea would be, in the true sense of experimentation, to be white hat hackers. Would you support that?
Well, first of all, team membership is public. So I don't know how a experiment where you've got a team collaborating behind the scenes can't double dip having a secret team. So that's not even, I think, a valid analogy to what's going on here. So if there was a group of people that aren't on a team now, that just want to join a team, and their only goal is to say, we're on this team and we're just going to distribute back our individual contributions, that's the only purpose of the team, then yeah, if someone wants to try that, go ahead, and then the community will say, okay, what team are you on? I'm on this team. What's your team doing? Oh, we're just doubling our respect, and we're not actually going to provide any additional filter other than the weekly meetings, the random group. And I am willing to bet that the majority of people on this call would take anyone who's on such a team and say, well, I would have ranked you a 2, but because you're double dipping, I'm going to lower you 1. And it might actually lower their average because they go down on the Fibonacci on the individual score instead of doubling it. So I think it would be counterproductive. And I challenge anyone to try to find people that want to join such a team, because I think such a team would be demoralizing compared to joining another team that's actually up to something productive. So I think that there's other subjective values that apply both in the interpersonal respect that you have for yourself and for the other community members. And those social pressures and those social values, those intangible, unmeasurable values, are what how we're being held accountable here. And a lot of the game theoretic things that are possible, if you only look at the math in the equations, that and that's how a lot of crypto projects work. They only look at the math and they assume that accounts for everything. But the math is only one part of it. And what we're doing with Fractal is recognizing, hey, there's a lot of value in the relationships, and anyone engaging in that type of behavior, it's not going to be secret. What you'd have to do to, I guess, simulate this attack is to produce a team that's got a grand mission, but it's not actually doing any, right? They're lying about what they're doing as a team. And as a result, they're getting extra bonus and whatnot as a way of, say, boosting individuals who aren't doing anything, right? Let's say you have a team that's got a superstar on the team and a whole bunch of people that aren't doing anything. That superstar is multiplying their contribution by having 12 representatives, each getting credit for their work, and everyone is choosing to double it up. And then the superstar pays them maybe twice as much or 3 times as much as they would have gotten alone. And then he gets 10 times as much because he's basically taxing all the people that are choosing to support him. That's one of the arguments that was made, is that people judge the leader of a team, right? People judge the Fractal team by me, not by everyone else, and all those things. And that might be the case. One of the things I challenge the community to do is, when you have a critique of teams, make sure you factor in all the things that I mentioned as like the goals of teams, and make sure you propose an alternative that also achieves those goals and recognizes those values, rather than, well, here's some theoretical problems, and here's a solution for those problems, but the solution ignores all the other values that the team are providing. So make sure you fully enumerate and understand the social values of the team, and then try to come up with better solutions that can address the whole range, maintaining the ones I just mentioned and providing this other stuff. But it's all just respect. And if we have a team that's dedicated to investigating other teams, interviewing other teams, and reporting on teams that are attempting to collude to direct value away from the mission of the Fractal, then we kind of have white blood cells. Now that could create a toxic environment where everyone's accusing everyone of misappropriating public funds, and that's not fun. But part of the goal of Fractal governance is to eliminate political parties. So a team says, well, the maximum political party that we're allowing you to form is 12 people. And that's not enough to really do anything. And then we're all kind of keeping each other equal. So yeah, I'll take Jordan. He's got his hand up. Love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, sorry, I missed the beginning. I might be missing a little bit of context, but I generally.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Your mic's mumbled or something. Just.
I'll try to reset it and come back in a minute.
He's going to try to reset his mic and come back in a moment.
Okay. All right.
Hey guys, yes, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so I wanted to pretty much defend Jordan's position, and specifically this main point he had about people tending to judge groups of people by their leader. And I wanted to say that most of the things that have been said today sound pretty valid, but they are still opinions. And what Jordan did was not posting an opinion. He posted a study, a published peer-reviewed study regarding this subject. And when I look back at my last meeting, I was with a ƒractal team member, and we were ranking ourselves. And I had the opinion that some member deserved to have the highest rank. But then all of a sudden, it was mentioned that this person was part of the ƒractal team member. And then it felt like I wasn't ranking the person. I was ranking the team. I was ranking 6 people. So any other person would have to have done as much work as 6 people in order to have higher respect, get higher ranking than this ƒractal team member. Furthermore, I didn't feel like I was ranking any random team. I almost felt like I was ranking Dan Larimer, and that was for that member. So because and that's the core of the double dipping. I was ranking Dan Larimer at that moment multiplied by 6, and if every ƒractal team member was in other groups at the same time, that effect was compounding. So I wanted to say that I see clearly, and it's mathematical, a point in what Jordan is saying. I also see a point in what you are saying, that Jordan is not highlighting all the variables, but Jordan is basically saying that and I'm also suggesting that first, at any group, we should not rank at the same time individuals and teams. So each individual that presents in this room should be ranked as an individual, not as a team. And also, I think we really
hold on, before you continue.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with that. You should rank the individual and the individual's contributions. And if the individual contributed a lot personally, their team will get a larger budget, but you should not attempt to reward an individual in order to reward the other individuals on their team. I think that would probably be a subjective way that we can just keep in mind as we're judging, is judge the individuals by their individual contribution. And if we do that, then somebody says, I'm on the team, the only thing I'm doing for the team is representing the team here, then
we are not ranking the team, we are ranking the individual. That's crucial.
Well, we're not even ranking individuals, we're ranking contributions.
Yeah.
So that is.
But we are not ranking contributions from the team, but from the individual.
Correct. Now, an individual who contributes to the team is also contributing to the group. So you can rank an individual for their contributions to their team and to the community. But trying to judge an individual, you don't want to rank an individual based on their team's contributions. So if all the individual does, I'm on this team and I'm showing up at this meeting, right? The least you can possibly do and still get respect. If that's their stance, and let's say it's a ƒractal team member, then I would say, well, I don't care if you're a ƒractal team member, you didn't do any, and let's say they're not employed by ƒractal, they're not working full-time, they're not doing anything else other than showing up at the meeting and officially being on the ƒractal team. Then I would say that you would rank that person as level 1. The ƒractal team would get matching level 1. And then the ƒractal team would have to decide, are we going to give this person that 1, or is that 1 going to go to the team? The team will say, well, they are they actually faithfully representing and marketing what our team's doing and spreading that? Maybe we'll give them a little bit, but the majority of it will go to something else. But the point is, I don't know. I can see a desire to level the playing field and not give double dipping credit for individuals, because what you're doing is oh, you're part of the Fractally team. We're going to compensate you personally more in order to give the Fractally team more, right? Because, and that's where things get out of alignment. Instead of saying, oh, you contributed this much, we're going to compensate you that. And then your team gets to decide whether or not you get the other half of your compensation. And that's, I don't know. That's why the meetings are subjective, and you can decide. Everyone knows the rules with respect to the matching funds going to the team. And then it's up to your random jury of 6 people to decide whether or not an individual, because they're on a team, deserves more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Pascal.
okay.
Oh, sorry, Jorge. We got a few more hands up here, and I want to go over some things
Yeah,
before we go into our breakout room.
Thank you.
Okay. Last week I was in that group also. I had that same feeling, but after that, doing my personal feedback, it was an error from the team. So it's not a case that we can generalize. I made my presentation personally. It was my personal contribution, but also presented a group contribution. But when one of the members said at the beginning, you just say, okay, what do we think, which team contributed the most? So the word teams, in its ways, he asked the question was misleading, you know. So and then we went fast. After 2 minutes, it was done. So it's not a bug in the framework of Fractally. It's something that I think in the design you can have personal contribution and group contribution, so that when people work in the group, they can, if they want to mention group contribution, they will mention it. If they want to mention personal, they will mention it. But it's not a generalized problem. It was not an attack vector. It's just an human error. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Joshua or Pascal. Joshua, do you want to go ahead and review what we're doing this week for anyone who missed last week?
Yeah, I want to just go through the meeting agenda real quick. I have been posting it sporadically in the chat today, and I think most of you have seen it, but since it's our second time, I just want to run through this again. So here in about 10 minutes, we're going to go into our breakout rooms, and this is a suggested format, but usually the first 25 minutes or less is spent discussing and sharing your recent contributions that you're representing. Like Pascal said, it could be individual, or it could be a team, or it could be a combination of that. You could say what you've individually contributed, but you're also representing your team. And I would encourage those who are on teams to make sure you're doing a good job representing your team. Otherwise, your team may not be earning the respect for its collective contributions. So that format is the same that we normally do. The main question you're gonna ask is, what have you done to build the technology, raise awareness, and grow adoption of fractal governance, which is our mission for this Genesis fractal. If you invited anyone to participate, and if they are participating today or they have been, that's worth mentioning, and that's something that helps our experiment here, more people attending. And how did you rank last week? If you want to mention that, what was the level of respect that you got last week allocated? And you can also share your contributions and screen share or in the chat or whatever. And then the meat of the issue here is in the first breakout room, we need to decide who are the top 3 the members representing the top 3 contributions that are going to move on to the next round. And you can use whatever process that you want. One way that might work is just saying like, who wants to move on? So like in my breakout group last week, there was only 3 of us who wanted to move on. So that was an easy decision. Once you determine who the top 3 people are, it doesn't matter the order. I think last week we decided that we're going to put them in alphabetical order. So when we make our consensus results, we put the Hive username in alphabetical order. But nobody in the top 3 is getting any particular amount of respect because they're going to move on to the next round, and that's going to be determined. So then for whoever else is in your group, if it's a group of 5, you'll have 2 people left. If it's a group of 6, you'll have 3 people left. Then we need to use our normal process to determine, okay, which contribution highest to least, are we going to allocate the most respect to? So if it's 6 in a group here, then after those first 3, this would be the next level of respect. It would be level 3, and then level 2, and then level 1. And like normal, once you've come to consensus, somebody in your group should post the correct usernames and commas and formatting, and everyone should verify that. And once you've verified it, then you're going to copy and you're going to post that on the Hive blog post, which I also have put in the Zoom chat, and I'll do that a few more times. And that's it. You need to do that immediately after round 1, because we need to then determine who's going to be going on to round 2. And we still don't really have a smooth process figured out for this. So what we're doing right now is basically, if you're not moving on to round 2, you need to leave the meeting. You can go to the Discord if you want to hang out with some of the other members. I think we have a hangout voice chat over there in the Fractal Discord. I'll make sure that link is available. If you don't leave the meeting, then you'll be removed from the meeting, because we only need the people who are currently with the process, who are remaining, to be randomized into the next breakout group. So we're trying to work on a better process for that, but we haven't nailed it down yet. So for now, apologies if that seems a little bit abrupt, but it's less abrupt if you just know that this is what we're doing and you just voluntarily leave the meeting if you know you're not going on to round 2. Also, it helps if when you get into your next breakout room, so we have a 15-minute intermission where we're doing what I call a magic show, basically, and getting everybody ready to be randomized into the next group. Once you get into your next group, which will happen 15 minutes after we conclude the 45-minute breakout room session that we'll be going into in about 5 minutes. You'll have 15 minutes to basically post your results and get ready for the next round. And the round 2 will be the same thing. It'll be a 45-minute process, but this round looks more like our normal process that we usually do. So it's going to be a group of 6, and everybody in there is going to be representing contributions like normal, and we just go through our normal process. The main thing that's changing here is there will be 2 users who are getting levels that are new now with this process. So somebody will be getting a level 8, and somebody will be getting a level 7, and then in the middle here we have 6 and 5. So in terms of the level of respect being allocated, that's a new thing, but the process is basically the same. Whatever you want to do from greatest contribution to least contribution to figure that process out. Again, oftentimes it's like going around the room for 25 minutes or less, sharing contributions, and then using the last 20 minutes to come to consensus. And once you've got the correct post, you need to make sure it's all in the right order and the right formatting with the commas and the spaces and stuff. And then you're going to copy and paste that on the same blog post. We use the same blog post for both breakout rooms. And that's basically it. Is there anything else I should mention or emphasize? Oh, one thing I do want to say real quick is please make sure that you add your Hive user account to your name here in Zoom. That way it's easy to reference, and it's especially needed for the intermission when we're trying to determine who's actually moving on and who needs to be removed from the room.
The one thing I would add is just because someone wants to move on doesn't mean they should automatically move on. It's a good way of identifying, well, these are the people who think they contributed above average to the community, and therefore they think they deserve to move on. But if there is somebody who doesn't want to move on, but you think, or you actually contribute enough, you need to really encourage them to move on if they deserve it. So please encourage people to move on. Sometimes, though, even people who contribute a lot can't move on. For example, one week, I wasn't even able to finish the first meeting, in which case I would be unable to move on for scheduling reasons and so forth. And so those are things to keep in mind. Just saying you want to move on shouldn't automatically mean you get to move on. and the groups should still reach consensus on that. The other thing to keep in mind is just because you do move on does not mean you necessarily reach a higher level than if you don't. The highest level agreed in round 1 is level 3, and the lowest level agreed in round 2 is also a level 3. So if you move on, you have to, you're taking the chance that you are the smallest contributor of the group, in which case you don't actually get any bonus level of respect. So keep that in mind as you're negotiating the level in your meeting. There's one other topic which I would like to discuss next week, but I would like to kind of preview coming attractions. And right now we have 2 proposed consensus mechanisms for making group decisions. One of which is everyone at level 6 from the first meeting, and the other is team leads. Are the 2 ways that we're talking about doing consensus of the group. But now that we're doing 2 rounds and level 6 does not necessarily reach consensus in round 1, we are going to have to consider an alternative for the group consensus for high level decisions. And that could mean reaching a consensus that it should be only those who receive level 8. And because we only have, I think, 4 teams. I need to update on that, but we only have 4 teams right now. And do those teams accurately, are they accurate representatives of the whole group, or are they special interest representatives? And so what percentage of the people are on teams? So those are some of the stats that we need to look at before we consider some of those things. But I would like you all to be thinking about that this week, to provide feedback in blog posts and whatnot, ideally earlier in the week, so that we can have some time to review it, and then we can discuss it next Saturday at the pre-meeting. All right, I think it's just about time to do breakout rooms. Got 43 people here today.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up all of the rooms, and I hope you guys have fun, and we'll see you in about 45 minutes.
Hey, there's my main man, Thomas.
Hey, what's up, Stan? How's everyone else doing?
Hi, everybody.
Hey everyone, great to see you all. By the way, I'm recording. I'll share this at some point. Also your feedback, sorry about that.
What's up, Pascal? How you doing?
I'm good, Tom. Yeah, nice weather here. I'm good. Great to see you.
Likewise.
So I can propose myself to be a timekeeper, if you mind. So
Okay.
That sounds great. Thank you, Pascal. That'd be helpful.
okay. And it's gonna be 3 minutes each, if we agree.
Okay.
Let me set my timer.
Do you have any thoughts about 4 minutes? I mean, I feel like 4 minutes is also a decent amount of time.
Okay, we have 43 minutes.
Okay.
From now. So if we have 4 minutes each, we are 24. We have 24 minutes for the presentation. Let's just keep a little bit time if we need to discuss, so that we are not too squeezed all the time. So 3 to 4 minutes. I will keep it to less than 4 minutes if you want.
Okay, sounds good. And yeah, I'll try to be as brief as possible as well.
Okay. So I will be reminding everybody on the chat how many minutes they remain, so that like when you see like 1 minute, I will post less than 1 minute, less than 30 seconds, and less than 5 seconds. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, Pascal. Should we get into it? Would anybody like to share their contributions first?
So you go ahead.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I'll go ahead. I'm happy to. Thanks, Dan.
I'll continue.
Sounds good. I'm happy to. Okay, cool. So I'll share a bit of a presentation here. I also got my own timer, so I'll remember that as well. So this week, I've been working a lot on a website, edencreators.com, to help promote Fractally and fractal governance. I put together a page for the Genesis fractal specifically. It's still in early stages, and I haven't shared it much yet. I made some cool art that I'm really excited about. And I also made this art piece here too. And then I started just collecting some notes and writing a brief introduction to the Genesis fractal, as well as collecting links to the white paper and embedding videos for the first video. The video playlist currently isn't working, and interviews with Dan Laram. I'm going to make a playlist so people can learn about all these different videos and some content that I made about Fractally in the past and so forth. So there's that. Then also on the Eden Creators main site, I added the Genesis fractal to the top of it to help feature it and link it to make it for people to easy to join. And people can also find videos and Garden and Eden fractal and events and more information there. I also added the Genesis fractal to the events page so people can find the text version here. And then if you scroll down a bit, there's a bunch of other events like Alien Worlds Fractal and Eden Fractal. And then there is the Genesis Fractal here with some information for people to join. And then I've been working on a page called Garden, which has a lot of writing about fractals that I'm aiming to build, or fractals that are we're already working on, like Eden Fractal and Genesis Fractal, and a blog post called Growing Fractally, and a bunch of other communities that I'm aiming to empower with fractal governance here. Lots of previous notes. So there's that. I've also been working on an Eden Creators Pomelo pitch, trying to get it passed for hosting fun events like the Eden Fractal. And basically the idea is empowering EOS with fun events, amazing content, and fractal cooperation with the revolutionary new process of Fractally. And so it talks about Eden Fractal and lots of other events and videos and stuff that we're creating to help basically grow Fractally and empower EOS with fractal governance and so forth, and empower communities in general. And then I also put together a page about how Eden Creators provide public goods for the EOS community with the Fractally process. And I worked on a page for Eden Fractal too on the same website, Eden Creators, to explain what Eden Fractal is and how you can learn about it and so forth. And then I write a bunch of sub posts about how Eden Fractal provides public goods by using the Fractally process and building tooling for the Fractal process and so forth, and more information where people can learn all about Eden Fractal and how it uses the Fractally process. I also hosted the 10th Eden Fractal meeting this week, and there was like 16 participants. That was really great. And then, yeah, this is the blog post about how Eden Fractal uses the Fractally process to create public goods. I included some links to the white paper and videos, and then shared different ways that this Fractally process helps communities create content, make fun events, and build open source software and all sorts of different things like inspiring communities and stuff like that. A bunch of pages I'll show really quickly, tools that we built so far, that the developers have built so far for the Eden Fractal, and I'm working on a campaign to help raise more funding for people. I also spoke on the Fireside Chat, EOS Fireside Chat, about fractal tooling and made some timestamps so people can find it easily. I'm at 3 minutes now, so I'll wrap it up soon. I've been promoting an Eden Fractal Pomelo grant, and I've also been working on a community governance proposal for Fractally consensus process like we have here in the Genesis Fractal that I shared with the Eden Fractal group. I started collecting some contributors to Eden Fractal. I'm going to add more here. I think this might be cool for the Genesis Fractal to do this kind of thing soon too. And also talked about how Eden Creators are helping Eden Fractal. And I started to put a page together for Alien Worlds Fractal with information on how people can join that, and a bunch of other communities that I'm aiming to empower with fractal governance as well, that I'll share more details about soon. And then also talked about how Eden Fractal creates videos and fun events. Like these are each, like I said before, like they each have their own kind of articles about these different things about how Eden Fractal uses the Fractally process to create benefits and inspire communities and stuff. There's a lot to show here, but I'll just wrap it up here. And then I also hosted a town hall where we talked about this quite a bit, spoke on the chief delegate call where I talked about this quite a lot, and the Helios Twitter space I participated in talked about Fractally a lot. And I've also been helping out with the Zeos Fractal, and I'm going to be hosting an interview with the founder soon. So that's that. Sorry, I was like 10 seconds over, but hope you enjoyed.
Wow.
That's made very fast. So pick anyone, you're done.
I'm
Wait a minute. Yeah, wait a minute. Second. Let me just.
I'm sorry. What's that, Pascal?
I want to set the timer. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, cool. I don't know, does anybody want to go next? If not, then I'll elect maybe Stan to go next.
Okay, I'm glad to. And there is my list of activities that I posted in the link so that you can read along with me. My current contributions to Fractally is I've got 3 different companies that are all building stuff that is working towards making Fractally stronger. There's Quintric.com, which is hosting a gold-backed legal tender Quint token for the Fractally chain. So we've already got the Quint token built. It's been around since 2018, and we're now going to offer it on the Fractally network whenever that network actually gets going. So that'll give you a gold-backed currency that people can use on the network. Second company that we've got that we're currently raising funds for is carrotswap.com. That's an app that allows you to earn quints for chain store purchases. So that's going to bring in millions of users to use the Quintric token on the Fractally network, among other places. So I think that that'll be really cool. And then one of the things Quintric also provides is on and off ramps where people can send their money, wire it into Quintric and buy quints and get tokens put onto the Fractally network. And so we'll be able to bring a lot of other people on board with that. So, we're all about driving traffic to the Fractally network. The third thing is sovereignsky.com. That's putting a Fractally node, blockchain node in orbit. And we have one of the strongest node developers. His name is, his code name is EOS USA Michael, who's agreed to be on our team. And so we'll be actually having him work to build the Fractally node and to give it the special features that allow users to specify any smart contract executes on this in-space node, and instead of just a random node. And that way you can make sure that your stuff is executing in international space outside of the reach of any sovereign country's regulations. So that's the big benefit there. I budgeted $250K to add these features to the 3 chains. We formed one of the top 3 groups called Fractally in Orbit Team, and we're going to use its respect to actually fund the node in space. So when they're talking about anybody that's going to run a node has to stick up a stake, where are we going to get our stake to run the node? Well, we're going to use the earnings our group makes. I've just proposed that to the group. We haven't actually voted on it. So next time we meet, we'll actually vote on that and determine if that's what everybody wants to do. But that's what I propose to avoid the double dipping thing. And so we did have our Fractally in Orbit team meeting this week, and we discussed a lot of different stuff. And yeah, I think what I'll do is let Thomas talk about that whenever his turn comes up. This week, I confirmed continued applications for the 65 million in funding to build all these things from King's Council and Trust. So I attended several meetings with King's Council and Trust, and I've been building all the documentation package that they require in order to get funded. So that kept me pretty busy. Last week I ranked level 7. That's it. So at this point, I think I'll turn it over to Thomas, and he can continue to talk about things that our team accomplished.
All right. Thanks, Stan. How's everyone doing? I'm going to post in the chat my contributions also. And let's see if it went through. Okay. So I'm also a Fractally in Orbit team member. As Stan was saying, pretty sure we're going to have consensus on it. We already have 3 or 4 members agreed that we plan on taking the matching respect our team receives and using it to cover the staking that we're going to need to run the node in space. Sovereign Sky, one of Stan's company, hold on, our team's focused on using that company to put a node in space. There's another company, Mission Space, which has been absorbed by Sovereign Sky. And what's unique about them is they have a telescope in space where, you know, you can pay a small bit and you have access to the telescope live, and you could explore, you know, the universe. And anyone can do this. You don't need to be a researcher. So it's nice that it's open to the public, and you can take like a screenshot of something, you know, some nice pictures of space, and then you can actually, you know, convert that to like an NFT, and, you know, that can be useful in many different types of ways. Ideally, the Fractally in Orbit team, we want to have the ability, as Stan was saying, for Fractally smart contracts to have the option / ability to choose, you know, which node you want to choose, and we want them to choose our node to execute in space. That could be useful for like gambling or cannabis companies, or, you know, a wide range of companies that could utilize that jurisdictional agility. I wrote a BitShares report article that was well received. You know, it was sponsored by the BitShares Fractal team that it's an unofficial team me and Pascal are part of. And so that was well received in the BitShares community. We've been getting their attention. And I also had a 1-hour meeting with Pascal, and we were discussing like a BitShares, you know, a reward for joining our meetings, whether it be BitShares or maybe some NFTs. Speaking of which, I joined the Alien World meeting this past week, and I did that to meet, network, and support, you know, fellow Fractal community members. And while I was there, I spoke about an idea that me and Pascal had talked about of so at the meeting, we're talking about giving away BitShares and also NFTs. And, you know, we thought, hey, what if we gave NFTs away from other communities like Alien Worlds? Now that's a different chain and it seems counterintuitive, but part of the culture of Fractally is, you know, making more bridges. So I thought it'd be pretty cool. Well, we thought it'd be pretty cool to give an NFT for like Alien World. And we encourage our BitShares community people to sign up to their community to get access to the NFT we're giving them. And when I told the people, like Dwayne at Alien Worlds, he liked the idea a lot. And when Dan rolls out the blockchain, you know, they would be more inclined to sponsor our BitShares community. And, you know, now it's like you're kind of opening up trade. Digital Berlin Wall coming down, and just kind of mutual respect and trading. And, you know, I'm a networks guy, and I want to kind of do my best to tie in BitShares, Fractally in Orbit, Sovereign Sky, all the Fractal communities, and see what we can build collectively together. And that's it for me, and I'll pass it over to Jorge.
You're muted, Jorge.
You're unmuted, but we still don't hear you right now, Jorge. You're unmuted, but I still don't hear you. No audio. Maybe if Jesse or Pascal would like to go next while Jorge gets his audio issue resolved.
Okay, no problem. Good. I'm just gonna post very quickly what I got going this week. But I would say most of the thing I've been doing is ground work. I visited one hub which is hosting blockchains. They have this big hub, and then they want to put blockchain at the center, like one of the key things that will drive people in the business space. So I visited the manager and talked to him. He was 100% in the blockchain space, and then he was talking about what's happening in Miami, and then he wanted to replicate that here in his city. It's a small city, which has historically been a touristic city for electricity. It's the east side of Quebec. So we may have some good news from there because we spoke about what we are doing in terms of governance fractally, and he was interested to know more. So I saw an opportunity to push to the city, the city mayor, because they are very they want to rebuild the city. They want the city to live back and then to go into digital. So they'll be open. If we want to put a note there, they'll be happy to have a note. So Thomas also said we had a meeting this week, our second meeting, to promote the BitShare team, to launch it and then to see how it goes. We are prospecting on Telegram and all the social networks to bring BitShare community. I had a project to launch a blockchain consensus school because I was doing DPOS education here in Montreal. And this week, I finished the planning of the launch of the school. And then the school will be doing education on fractal, fractal governance. And then we also be supporting entrepreneurs. We want to build on the technologies that use this fractal governance. I posted about what we are doing fractally on social networks using my personal handle. I'm mostly using Snipcoin, which is a social network targeting blockchain and crypto enthusiasts. And then it's built on EOSIO blockchain called Proton. So very interesting to see how we can launch a social network on a blockchain. So Snipcoin is very good if you want to experience it. Last week, I was ranked 3rd. So that's my contribution this week. Thank you.
Thanks, Pascal.
So I will pass to Jesse.
Wait a minute. Do you guys hear me now? Did you solve the problem?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Jesse.
Okay. Hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Jesse Jaffe. I am the founder of EOS Bees. Our mission at EOS Bees is to promote the brands we love with a large human force. We've developed technology to incentivize them to engage on tweets. And we have around 200 bees now doing that, growing every day. And our mission is to, we were born in EOS, and we want to turn around the negative sentiment about EOS in the broader community. In regards to Fractally, I don't really have any contributions. I like to come on here every once in a while to just kind of get updated on things. I did have a conversation with Dan this morning about promoting the Eden Fractal, so I guess that counts. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. But definitely when Fractally chain launches and the tokens have value, the rest of the bees will join these meetings. For now, it's just me. And yeah, good to be here, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. I'll also add thanks for helping Zeos with that tweet too. I think that's something that hopefully you've done too. That he launched, or he announced the Zeos Fractal, and the bees help promote that. So that's much appreciated.
Yeah, in fact, I'll just what I can put in the chat is here's an example of a Zeos. The payouts to our bees are all on chain and public, and so you can see over 200 bees getting paid out in the Zeos token. What we could do in the future is we could pay our bees potentially in the respect token. And so that'd be, it's a really powerful way to get new community members involved in the ecosystem. So you guys can check that out.
Thanks, welcome. I think we still have Jorge.
Hello, guys. Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I'm Jorge Ramos. I'm a physicist by formation. as Stan is, I guess. And I'm posting in the chat my recent contributions. I'm an Eden ƒractal team member, and as such, I participated in the Eden ƒractal meeting, which is taking place on EOS, and we are bridging and doing some feedback between EOS and this ƒractal community. There we have a hell of a discussion regarding self-ranking, which I'm always advocating as a negative, as having a negative impact on all these meetings. Also, I am building the Spanish-speaking team and ƒractal. We have already 5 members, three of which are new this week in this meeting. If they didn't attend this meeting, they'll come by next week. They are not very proficient in English, but they are somehow bilingual. And I've been working with the simulation and team, which is composed by Jordan Ackerman, the guy who identified the double dipping effect, and Matt Langstone, and myself. And I've been working in one of Matt Langstone's latest posts, which I'm sharing right now on the chat. It's right there. And from that post, if you can quickly go to that link address, I want you guys to go to the graph number 8. If you may. That graph has a vertical axis and a horizontal axis. The horizontal axis represents the number of meetings any member. Well, this graph was plotted on the data of the first 20 meetings from this ƒractal genesis process. So the horizontal axis represents the number of meetings each person has attended, and the vertical axis represents the accuracy. It's a measure of how trustworthy the appraisals, the measurements that person does is. So we have a very, very strong trend that says that the most accurate measurements come from the people that attend the most. So not from the people that has the highest rankings, but from the people that is more regular in attending the meetings. And that in itself is a strong result based on data. So I'm advocating that we consider seriously to weight people voting according to how regular they are attending these meetings as a feedback mechanism. And the reason I'm advocating this is because, for example, if tomorrow Jesse brings 100 or 200 new people which are not familiar with this process, that's going to bring a lot of noise, a lot of unexperienced people that don't know about this process, giving opinions about Stan's work, Dan's work, and everybody's work. So if we instead weight opinion by recurrence in attending these meetings, we can onboard even thousands of people at the same time. And because those new people will have very low weight in their attending weight, we will then incur in the negative effects of so much noise, while at the same time we will have the benefits of onboarding a lot of people at the same time. So that's it for me. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jorge.
Yeah, thank you, Jorge. Much appreciated. If it's okay, there's a couple of things I've got to say. That I ranked 5 last week. I'm also representing Eden ƒractal team, also participating in Other ƒractal, and I also invited a great community member named Gian, and he joined today as well.
Okay. So we have 18 minutes to reach consensus. So
I like to propose that because we need to send 3 people to the next round. I'd like to propose that we send at least one of them from each of the teams which are presented here. That will be 1 member from the ƒractal in orbit, and 1 member from the Eden ƒractal, and 1 member from the Beachers team, maybe.
Kind of like a diverse representation of teams in the second round. If I see our group, let's see, we can. It's a personal opinion. If we take this away, you're gonna balance. But now everybody has to. I don't know what you guys think. How do we pick the 3 to go up? So, or do we ask who want to go to the next level? Maybe we start by that. It doesn't mean we go just by showing hand we want to go to the next level. It's gonna be a more easy way to discuss and reach consensus.
Okay, that works. So I'd like to go to the next level.
I could go too.
So if we've only got 3, that's it's a pretty, okay, we got Thomas too. Okay.
Okay.
If Thomas going, I will remove my. I will leave Thomas go. So.
Well, what, Pasquale, do you want to go? I mean, we're kind of on the same team too. What are your thoughts? I mean, I was thinking Dan and Stan were like kind of a shoo-in for the next round. And as far as the third person, I feel like it would be we'd have to come to consensus on that. I think myself, Jorge, and Pascal all are a good candidate. I don't know who to pick there, but I mean I kind of like the idea of someone from each team going.
I would not go if you want to go, Tom, because we are in the same. We are building something. Let's say in mid-share. So if you want to go, I will offer to go. So
I'm okay with Stan, Dan, and Jorge. Personally.
I personally think that if, well, yeah, that's fine. However, oh yeah, that's fine.
One of the points that I can set to the next level is this idea that Fractally can have, as soon as possible, impact in local communities. So the groundwork that I'm doing, the Fractally team, I want to pitch this idea to the team so that they can grab opportunities at some local level. So this is why I may propose to go in the next level. Is bringing business to them in a short sentence. So so if I bring business to the team, maybe the community as a whole in the future may grow. So it's the proposal. So that's why if I go to the next level, I will pitch that. So because I have the opportunity to.
I wonder if anybody would like to say for their teams, what are the teams doing with the funding that they're getting from doing this? Because was supposed to be one of the things we considered. I've already said that Fractally in Orbit team is using its funds entirely to basically fund the required down payment to run a node in space. Can you guys tell us what you're doing with your funds? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's not really funds yet because the tokens aren't tradable or have value.
No, but the respect tokens is what I'm talking about. They're going to be turned into funds at some point, and then those funds, in our case, will be used to back the node that we want to run. So I'm just asking the other 2 teams that are wanting to go, is that something that you guys know what you're going to do with the funds? Or are you just giving them out to your team members?
The Eden Fractal team hasn't discussed this yet, I don't believe, as far as I'm aware. So that's a good thing that you bring up. Thanks for bringing it up, Stan. I'm not sure we'll have a discussion about this. I mean, the goal of Eden Fractal is generally to help empower EOS with fractal governance, and EOS is it's $1 billion network. So there's a lot of value that we can do to use that respect that way. But I don't know exactly how we'll use it yet. I don't know if Jorge has any other thoughts about that.
Yeah, first of all, the tokens haven't been transferred to us. They are supposed to be transferred to the team lead, which is Felix. So we don't have access to them still. We have considered several ideas, one of them being to create liquidity pools that will be distributed according to their respect, which in the Eden Fractal team is called Eden. We have our own token and we have already our own smart contracts. So according to what contribution if each of those members on the EOS network do to both the Fractally team and to the Fractally process within EOS, the respect will be allocated by the way of these liquidity pools. So it'll be totally democratic and fair.
Yeah, thanks, Jorge.
Okay, so we want to post our votes for who we think ought to go to the next round.
Yeah, the 3. You want to post the 3 directly so that, or you want to go each by each?
I would
List
say we
all
post.
3. We don't need to rank them, but just list all 3 alphabetically.
Okay, let's go, guys. We just have 12 minutes to go. And then
Okay.
we have to sort the 3 out.
So we
So-
write, each of us write the 3 candidates, each of us
Yeah.
thinks.
Yeah,
Right.
go.
Okay.
Oh, that will be tough. So I would say for sure Stan and Dan are going based on what I can quickly. So so within the consensus, it's gonna be between Jorge.
I have a question for Jorge. Jorge, what happened to not voting for yourself? Isn't that one of your
Well,
things that you care about?
well, the thing is, yeah, I do care about, but I want to stress this. If within a room, anybody is self-ranking, which is not the case because we are talking about going to the next round. But if within a room somebody is doing it, I'll do it myself too. And that would be a way of highlighting the impact self-ranking has. So because we haven't discussed not self-ranking in this meeting, I knew somebody was going to do it, so I did it. So there's your answer.
Okay.
Yeah. But feel free to do it, Jorge. It's a subject. Feel free. It's not an issue. People, it's changing every week. So feel free to vote for yourself or not. So if we just have to have. So we have 2 already going. So the consensus is between Jorge and me.
I'll change my vote to Pascal. Dan, Stan, and Pascal.
Okay. So I will say we have, yeah, so we have the 3.
I would like to, before we conclude, to advocate for myself. And frankly, I'm happy for Dan going for the Eden Fractal team. The thing is that if we are trying to represent things on the next round, I'm forming this Spanish-speaking team and Fractally, and we brought 3 new people this week, and we are already 5 people. So yeah, we're very new. So I think I'll do a representation of both teams. I'm not officially in more than the Eden Fractal team, but this other Spanish-speaking team is beginning and in its representation.
Just to say, I think we are rewarding job that things that has been done already. So maybe next week we may recognize that work. So the process, the factory process is based on things that has been done.
Well,
So if we have the consensus, we still have 3 people to go, guys, and then we have 8 minutes. So do we have a consensus? Dan, Stan, and speaker, those who are not going. So because Jesse have already changed his vote, so the consensus is
Well, since Thomas voted for Pascal, I'll switch my vote from Thomas to Pascal to make it a foursome.
Okay. So
Okay.
we got the consensus. Now we have to pick the 3s, and then the 3s has to be sorted in one by one. So level 3, 2, 1. So I'll just start right in So we are picking level, yeah, level 3.
I'd also, if we have time, I'd like to just respond to what Jorge was saying briefly, and then also just say, Thomas, Jesse, and Jorge, I greatly appreciate all your work, and I think what you guys are doing is all super helpful. So yeah, thanks so much. And then Jorge, Jorge did say that he invited 3 people who joined this week. I was a little bit unsure. He said they didn't speak great English. I'm not sure if that's a big value add if they don't speak great English, but I'm also excited about the Spanish Fractal team, and I also really appreciate your contributions and the insightful discussion that we had during the Eden Fractal meeting too. So I appreciate it a lot. And then Jesse, I mentioned the EOS and help with that, and you're doing awesome work with these. And then Thomas also with the Alien Worlds, and then helping with the BitShares Fractal and everything else you're doing. I appreciate that too. So I'm not sure if that helps clarify it. I'm not sure who to vote for number 3, 2, or 1, but I just kind of want to respond to Jorge and then also say thanks to Thomas and Jesse as well at the same time.
Okay, so yeah, we still need to pick the highest contribution. So are we, Thomas, who has not voted?
I haven't voted yet.
So this week, I will take this opportunity to recognize what Jesse is doing, because I've heard about the bees. But I will, for this week, I will send my vote to my respect to Thomas for the work he's pushing with the Orbit team. So.
Okay, yeah, I forgot about Thomas's work with the Orbit team. That's really helpful as well.
So we have consensus.
No, you got 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to switch my vote to Thomas as well. So.
Okay, so Thomas is number 3.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God.
What? Okay, I hope he's all right. Okay. So I don't know if we need to re-invite him. I guess that Joshua will take care of that when Pascal's ready to join. But I guess it sounds like we have consensus for Thomas for number 3, so we can do number 2.
Yep, we're doing level 2.
Okay.
Now that looks like it's pretty much unanimous.
Okay. Sounds good. So we can post consensus on the Hive post, and then we can hang out.
Yeah,
and
somebody put it there so we can copy it real quick.
Jesse, what's your Hive account name?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's sorry about that.
It's all good.
So do we post the first 3 in alphabetical order?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does anybody know what Pascal's account name is?
We may have to rearrange the votes to exclude Pascal.
Oh yeah, it's true. If he isn't able to rejoin.
Yeah. So then we need a new top 3.
Was Pascal in the top?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, he wasn't. Wait, was he?
No, Pascal was in the top 3. Yeah, he was.
Yes,
Never mind.
it is.
Never mind.
Top 3 was Dan, Stan, and Thomas.
Yeah, Dan Sand.
Well, Pascal was there. I mean, Thomas got ranked number 3, and Pascal was he expressed interest in moving his vote to Thomas. So it might, if Pascal doesn't come back, then it might make the most sense for Thomas to be number 4 or in the top 3 rather. But
I'm willing to do that if he doesn't come back. You know,
Yeah, he wasn't. All right, so top 3 will include Thomas, because I think he was like second.
yeah, I've never had this happen before where somebody just lost their connection.
Yeah,
right
he
when
had
it
an
happened.
emergency. It seemed like he had an emergency and he had to
Yeah.
go.
yeah, hopefully he's okay. That was a little startling how he left.
All right, so it's Dan, Stan, and Thomas in the top 3, and then Jorge rank 3 and myself rank 2.
Okay, well, I mean, Pascal, I suppose we also could rank him number 3 if we want to, because he doesn't have to be here to get the rank number 3, although we could change it if we think it's better.
Yeah,
I think it's something to ask.
Pascal in number 3, because he was number 4 before. He's moved down just 1 notch. So that sounds fair.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
We're almost out of time, guys. We got to get this thing posted.
We have to get posted by 15 minutes after the round ends, right? It's not by,
We got to get it posted here and copied, so we all have a copy of the ranking.
yes, true, good point.
We're working on typing that.
So it's
But
done.
it is something to
think
ask the
done.
Fractally team if someone leaves mid-meeting. What is the protocol?
Yeah.
Pascal is at PNC, so I confirmed that.
Okay, just PNC.
So what rank do we give to Pascal?
3.
3?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we agreed on 3.
So we switch it, Pascal and Thomas, right?
Right.
Yeah. Can anyone put this in the chat? I'm on a cell phone. It makes it harder for me to get the names together.
I'm working on it. Is there supposed to be commas between the names or no?
Yeah.
What's Jesse's
It's for Thomas, right?
Squall.
5 name?
Okay.
It's just at PNC.
If you're
There's the first 4. You got the next 2?
I have everybody but
I got them all. Just
okay.
a second.
Yeah, everybody but Jorge. I didn't have commas.
There they are.
Okay, cool. But we do have to format it with the @ symbol and commas, I believe, and on 1 line.
And does anyone have Joshua's link also?
Yes, I'll post it there. Thanks for the great meeting, everybody. This was really fun and insightful, and I really appreciate everybody's contributions and stuff.
Okay, so is the one that's all. with-
Likewise, thank you very much.
Is the one that's all in 1 line the right answer? Or
No, that's missing Jorge right now. So I'm working on it. Hope I'll be able to get done in the next 20 seconds.
I think Jorge wrote the correct one, right?
Yeah, but it's not formatted correctly.
Right, it's missing the @ symbols.
@ symbols, commas in 1 line. So I believe that this is right. If anybody could please verify. Looks good. Thanks.
This meeting is being recorded.
Another great week, another great meeting. Thank you all for showing up. One of the things that occurred to me that we could all do is tweet or post on Hive and then tweet your weekly contributions before the meeting and then share it in the meeting. Having 40 plus, and then as you see other people's contributions, just like it, when the rest of the world sees everything that we're doing, that is great. And it's an easy way to get things out there. And since we're all kind of doing that as we're sharing anyway, it's not that much extra work to just make that a habit. If you're not following us on Twitter, please follow us on Twitter and tag us, or maybe we use like hashtag Genesis Fractal or something, so that everyone who wants to see everything that we're doing can get a flavor for all the great contributions that are going on in a tweet-sized summary. And if there's just this flood of activity every single Saturday, the rest of Twitter will notice that something's going on here, and that's my idea of the week for the things that we could be doing.
All right, so thank you everyone for participating in round one. We're going to now get ready for round two. If you're not moving on to round two, so if you were not one of the top three people in terms of your consensus order that was posted, then you're not moving on to round two today. And once you've posted your results, just to make it easy for us to get ready to randomize people, we'll try to have a better process for next week. But the easiest way for us to do it right now is just if everyone who's not moving on can just leave the meeting. And I'm going to post here in the chat, and I'll give you guys a few minutes. But optionally, if you want, you can go to the Discord, and we have a voice chat over there where some members are hanging out. It looks like one guy is already there, and that's going to basically conclude your participation for today. If you want, I'll drop a link in that Discord chat if you're still around. If you want to come back into the meeting after round two concludes for our we have like a 15-minute post Q&A session. So I just went and posted that, basically just asking you to leave the meeting once you've posted your results, if you're not moving on to round two today, and that'll just make things easier for getting round two ready to go.
If you have questions throughout the week, send them to Joshua, and we'll try to aggregate them and have more full responses, and maybe factor that into the pre-session, just so that things aren't forgotten. Sometimes you have a question, maybe you have a question right now that we don't have time to get to. Go ahead and submit that. Mark, do you have any question?
Yeah, follow up on your recommendation. Is there a place right now we can say copy paste with some short, medium, or long-term version of our contributions this week?
The easiest place to put your contributions right now is the Zoom chat. But if you want a public contribution place, then currently we post it on Go Fractally. But I do think that in the next week we'll get some kind of thread or discussion where everyone can really see what's going on. I just thought of that during the call today as something, so I haven't put much more thought into how to answer that question.
Well, real quick, you can also post it in the Telegram group. If you're a Genesis Fractal member, you should be able to post in there. And if you're not, just let me know and I'll give you that permission. But also in the Discord, we have various channels, and one of the channels is contributions. So if you're on the Discord, you can also share there.
Yeah, the main thing is let's try to share things where people outside of this group can see them. When you publish in our Genesis group, or you publish in the Discord or the Zoom chat, we're not advertising. We don't get any advertising value out of it. So that's why I think getting something on Twitter where our collective follower base can see what we're doing here, and we engage and we like each other's contributions on Twitter, that would be a good way of, I guess, voting for the things you like the most and what you want to see more of, is just liking other people's contributions, even if they're not in your group. You can just scan that thread, see what's going on, like the things, and give people some encouragement and or engagement. And that engagement will then spread and be marketing. So that's why I suggested Twitter, because the goal is to have not just our community, but other communities see what it is we are up to. You have a question?
Yeah, Josh and I were having a friendly debate on Go Fractally last week on whether the Genesis fractal is a DAO or not. Can you answer that? And if it's not a DAO, what would be required to make it a DAO?
Well, if we take the legal analysis, we're definitely a unincorporated nonprofit association. And our fractal contributor agreement kind of amounts to that. I would say that we are a DAO in the sense that we are decentralized, we're autonomous, we are free to reach our own consensus. We're not automated in the sense that Bitcoin is automated, but a DAO is a collection of people working for a particular cause that has no central point. If I disappeared tomorrow, this group could still go on, right? And new leaders could show up. So this is not dependent on any centralized infrastructure. So I say it's decentralized. We're autonomous. We have complete sovereignty over our consensus state, which is what autonomous means with respect to how I define DAO. We're definitely an organization of some kind. So I think, yes, this would qualify as a DAO. And I think it's very important that people realize that we not tie things to technology. Matt mentioned in my group that a lot of people just didn't feel like they could contribute technically to some of these ideas. It is my sincere belief that technology is a crutch. It's like analog to digital conversion. There is always loss. And the values and the principles here apply best at local scale without technology, and those can still be DAOs. DAOs do not have to be blockchain. They do not have to have technology. And recognizing that is how we take back our sovereignty and our freedom, and we empower people. Our mission is to empower the individual to overcome the collective tyranny and madness that's going out there by working together. And that is what a DAO is all about. So that's my long-winded answer to yes, I think this would qualify as a DAO.
All right, so just a PSA that if you're not participating in round 2, remove yourself from the meeting, and I'm going through the list now, and I'll be removing anyone who's not moving on.
How many groups did we have?
We had, I believe we had 8. I think we'll have 24 people moving on today.
Okay. So we've got 2 extras still hanging out. Any other questions?
That was a great question, Matt.
All right. So we've got 2 people in the participant list. Bonus points for identifying the first person. I guess we still have 5 minutes, so I can still take any other questions while we wait. Cruz.
Yes, Daniel. I'd like to, to get a little more information about the liquidity providing, how the token will work, how people will be able to contribute money into our communities, and how do they get rewarded? The liquidity providing rewards. Well, how that will work?
Sure. Since the white paper, I haven't spent too much time trying to express or detail it more because we've been working on more fundamental things. But the way it works is basically a Bancor relay. So if you're familiar with how Bancor works, if you're familiar with how you can contribute funds to the Bancor relay and then you make money off of the trading fees, it'll be slightly modified from Bancor, but largely that same concept. And normally that's just a free market kind of thing. Those who want to provide liquidity, they put it in, and then the market's doing that. So how does the subsidies work? When there's a subsidy, what we're saying is it's like putting money into a Bancor relay without taking anything out. So the community as a whole will put money into the relay, which increases the reserves of the relay, but not taking anything out. Anyone who had already put stake into the relay is therefore getting that money. Now, the other difference from the Bancor relay is that there is a staking period involved. You can't put money in for 1 second and then take it out a second later, and because you didn't actually provide any liquidity. You're just so liquidity is about risking capital over time or to other people. So we'll have some period of time, maybe it's a week or something like that, that when you ask for your money back, you get it back in a week. In the meantime, you get whatever trading fees are generated by the liquidity, plus whatever subsidies come in from either side of the relay, right? If you have two fractals and they could choose to subsidize it in different ratios. And then you get your percentage of those two out at the end of the week, minus whatever price changes occurred. So that's effectively the way it would work, is the community would figure out how much extra inflation it wants to pay the people. It's basically you're subsidizing the fees earned in the liquidity provision, instead of there's no communal funds, if you will, as far as like the fractal has money that we own in the pool that we can then profit as a group. None of that is going on there. We're just subsidizing those who are participating in the market maker. And in theory, any DeFi project could provide liquidity or market, and any community could subsidize any one of those projects however they wanted, assuming the community ratified the proper smart contract code to make it possible.
Just one quick interruption. Pascal, did you make your consensus comment? And it looks like you're not moving on to round 2 today.
I'd like to add here, Pascal lost connection in the last 5 minutes, and then we weren't sure to do, so we moved Thomas to rank, or rather to the top 3, Pascal.
Oh, okay.
If Pascal is back, I'm okay, giving that back to him if that's possible. We just didn't know what to do at the time. Is he back?
Yes.
He is back, but basically the consensus has already been posted, unfortunately, and we're about to go into our breakout room. So just from a time standpoint.
Stay down. Stay.
Hey, Pascal.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Make sure you leave your
Pascal.
comment. Oh, he jumped off. All right. Okay, we've got the correct number of people here. Sorry to interrupt the conversation. It's now time to go into our breakout room. So I'm going to recreate the rooms. It's going to be 4 rooms with 6 people each, it looks like. Check the settings. All right, I'm going to open up the rooms, and I hope you guys have fun, and we'll see you back here in 45 minutes.
All right, thank you.
Hey everybody, it's great to see you all. I am recording, by the way, and we'll share this at some point. Hope you're all doing well.
Everybody.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Everything included, probably.
And all good.
Well, this answers a question. I was wondering, Joshua, if you regularly participate while you host everything. So now I know.
Yeah, I just jump into the next room that doesn't have, enough people in it. So for me, that's room 4 today. All right, who wants to kick us off? Going around sharing contributions, in individual and team if you're on a team.
I would be glad to go for it if someone else would like.
I can start. It's okay for me. So hello, my name is Max. It's my first meeting today, and I'm in the round 2. Yeah, it's good for me. I was introduced here by Val because I really like the idea when we talk about DAO, and at the moment I have several startups and in early stages. It's the big problem to rank people in early stages, and I catch the idea that I can implement principles, so ƒractal principles in early stage startups. I really like this idea and start implementing my startup, the ƒractal principles in management, and I'm looking at the moment possibility to get more data to ƒractally to share this. So my second contribution, little contribution for the first time, I share information about ƒractally with all my friends in startup industry. It's within my networking, but I just didn't post something because I'm waiting this my first event. After that, I make the post with my experience about that and try to share information about it. So I share white paper, ƒractally white paper with several guys which work with DAO, and they will participate in the next events. So that's all my contribution for the first time. So, yeah.
Thank you, Max.
Yeah, thanks, Max. It's great meeting you, and thanks for joining and doing all the awesome work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
So who do you want to hand it off to, Max?
Sorry?
So normally when we go around the circle here, whoever was the last person talking just kind of passes the baton.
Dan, can you continue, please?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to. Sounds good. Okay, so I'll just start a timer real quick so I don't go for too long, and then I'll just get my presentation ready, and it's ready now, and then I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, cool. So this week I've been working quite a lot on the EdenCreators.com website, which is tending to help ƒractally and ƒractal governance as much as possible. So I made a cool new artwork with this, which I'm excited about, and it looks pretty cool, I think. And I made another cool artwork over here for Genesis ƒractal. And then I started, it's still just a draft page, a lot of these, but I started to just write a description of the Genesis ƒractal and provide some links, like some of the ones that Joshua made for the onboarding and so forth, which are really helpful. And then like the white paper, still it's kind of buggy a little bit. And I'm planning to do like interviews with Dan Larimer, playlists where people can learn more, as well as some past content that I've made about ƒractally and made at these meetings before. So there's that. Also on the EdenCreators.com home site, there's I added Genesis ƒractal here in a button to go to Joshua's introduction right near the top, along with Eden ƒractal, along with videos and a garden section and an event section and an about section. I'll show you a bunch of the websites rather quickly. So there's an event page that has a bunch of events in the ƒractally communities, like the Eden ƒractal and the Genesis ƒractal and the Alien Worlds ƒractal, as well as a bunch of EOS and EOS.io communities. And then there's pictures for each of them here, as well as some more information. So you can see like the Genesis ƒractal has here, so people can find these events. And then I've worked on a page called Garden, which has a lot of notes basically, and plans to build ƒractals and future ƒractals, so you can learn about Eden ƒractal, the Genesis ƒractal page I just showed you, a blog post I was working on for growing ƒractally in a bunch of communities that are either using or I want to use the ƒractally process to help empower with. There's a bunch there that you can explore if you want. So I've also been working on Eden Creators Pomelo pitch too, to get it to raise funding for helping this. Basically, the goal is to empower EOS with fun community events, amazing content, and ƒractal cooperation with the revolutionary process of ƒractally. And then there's a bunch of just description about all the different events that we host that are all or mostly related towards helping empower communities ƒractally and so forth. So that's there, and I wrote that all in the past week or so. And then I also wrote another blog article about how Eden creators are providing public goods for EOS with the ƒractally process and so forth, that has more details. And then I also put together a page similar to Genesis ƒractal for Eden ƒractal, but also has a lot more information because I'm trying to promote it for Pomelo and stuff like that. So it has stuff about Eden ƒractal and lots of articles that I've been writing, sub-articles about how Eden ƒractal provides public goods to the EOS community and Eden ƒractal tooling and videos and stuff like that. So there's lots of information here. I know it's at 2:30, so I'll try to wrap it up within 4 minutes and just show you a lot of things quickly. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff on this page over here. I host the Eden ƒractal meeting. It went great. We had like 16 people. And then here's the article about how Eden ƒractal provides public goods, cites the ƒractally white paper and the ƒractally video where Dan Larimer talked about that a bit. And then talks about how Fractally process can incentivize helpful content and fun events and tooling and communities and stuff like that. So there's a lot here. I put together a tooling page to show Eden Fractal tooling and link to it and show Eden Fractal developers. And I also participated in the fireside chat and spoke with Eve and Felix about that and helped promote the Eden Fractal Pomelo grant. And I proposed an Eden Fractal interim consensus process for the Eden Fractal community, similar to the Genesis Fractal. Started to put together some contributors for the Eden Fractal, which I think a lot of these things might be good to do for the Genesis Fractal too, to feature it. And I put together a thing about how Eden creators are helping Eden Fractal. And then I put together a page for Alien Worlds Fractal, which I participated in this weekend. And then a bunch of communities that I'm aiming to empower with fractal governance. I started to put together some pages for these too. And then I talked about more pages about how Eden Fractal creates videos and fun events, and these are just more description about how the Fractally process helps with that. In addition, I also hosted the Eden Town Hall, talked about fractal governance quite a bit with Felix, and then I spoke about fractal governance on the Eden Chief Delegate call and the Helios Twitter space quite a lot, and I'm helping Matthias form the Zeos Fractal, and I'm going to be doing an interview with him soon. That wraps it up. The last thing I'll just say is that I was ranked 5 last week. I invited a great community member named Jorn this week, and he joined today. And I'm also representing the Eden Fractal team, who's doing a lot of really great work as well. So thank you very much. Sorry for the bit long presentation.
Wow, you talk so fast, Dan. I'm amazed by that alone.
Yeah, I hope it wasn't too fast. I was working constantly this week, so I tried to summarize it. But yeah, I hope it was all understandable.
It's really big contrast after me, I do think.
What's that?
It's really big contrast after me.
Okay, well, I really appreciate your contributions, Max, too. But yeah, I suppose in the interest of time, I should probably nominate it. If anybody would like to go, please let me know. And then if not, then I'll nominate, I guess, Mark to go next.
Yeah, great. That's really great to come right off of what your presentation and to present, because I think at the heart of what we're presenting is the architecture of how to present. So it's a real bullseye in terms of what I think we're doing. You know, we're building this and we're all participating in the development, which is not come together. You know, it's all alpha, pre-alpha kind of. So the chain may launch limited capacity here in a month or two. We all know the user interface is built for demonstration purposes and it looks really awesome. It's enterprise quality. So we come here and we explore what it's like to disseminate how much we did this week. And that's not been resolved at all on how to do that. And it's perfectly reflected through Max and through Dan. And yeah, now I'm speaking to the same function of contribution, which is at the heart of what we're trying to do as a user of the platform. So I posted a link to my list like Dan's. Basically, it's a Google Docs. If you did click on it, then you might see I've organized at the beginning of that to say, you know, bottom line up front. At the top is that we're testing Fractally. And yeah, I mean, that's a team on Fractally, the ETF, the EOS Translation Foundation, that has a multiple purposes. And in all this, you know, we've documented that purpose, in this case, at the bottom of the list to say, well, we're providing feedback to Fractally, we're learning about our value, we're testing how Fractally helps us stay organized. You know, and also the remunerative quality of turning our analog value that we put into this fractal, this Genesis fractal, quantifying that in terms of token, respect token, you know, and so we're building the entire architecture, but it includes the usual suspects of, you know, tokenomics. You know, Shacruz asked about that. What's the token model going to look like as far as, okay, band core liquidity pools. Okay, got it. And then we'd say, well, is there a fractal respect token? And then there's an Eden fractal respect token. So if you come to the Bancor liquidity pool and put a bunch of speculative money investing in this group of Eden versus the fractally Genesis. So that's a really cool question and in development. And how do we evaluate that on a moment like we're experiencing right now? Well, being able to ask the question almost as like thought leaders. And so secondarily, I've listed everything that I've done. I actually put in red the items that I literally touched, legwork, to kind of choose your own adventure on how you're going to receive this update. So Dan's got his, Max has his. I've got mine. I put it before you to say the Translation Foundation. Yeah, it's got their hands in a lot of different items. One of our team members has just created a fractal for a Russian speaking group that owns like 2 to 4 blockchains that got burnt big time because they can't manage their chain. And I won't be surprised if they all begin to populate these meetings. They're going to build their own fractal, but they got to learn about it too. So I don't know how that's going to unfold, but that's one of our team members who's also translating More Equal Animals into Russian. So it becomes kind of awkward in terms of, well, what's my value? What did I do this week? And the word oversight as a team lead, I call a meeting, and I have a weekly meeting, and just doing that and getting the teams together and speaking to best practices, acquainting ourselves with what we're doing, that becomes the task, and it's really interesting. So I'm excited to be able to give that delivery right after Dan, because Dan has a background that speaks to this same interest of mine, and that is to send information across the Zoom call. I've done this, so I don't know the perfect ways to do that. But I think without belaboring the details of the EOS-B integration network or this new e-zine by Lars, who's an artist, or the way we're quick turning back toward Fractally to translate documentation, or working with our machine learning, or our training, remunerating the training personnel who do train the machine learning algorithm, the tech side of it, without getting too detailed on the integration efforts, the actual projects. I just want to just let it go and say that's pretty much, I think, my contribution captured for the week. So having said that, I'd like to pass it off to Joshua.
All right, thank you, Mark, and thank you to the EOS Translation Foundation team. Okay, I'm going to do, I believe screen sharing is enabled for everyone. I think I did that before the last round, so I'm going to do a little bit of screen sharing real quick. So actually, I've been encouraging Max, who's here with us in the room, to come to these meetings, and also Gabriel, who was able to show up today. And one of the things that Max was asking me about was like, what are the things going on that we can contribute to? And he was, I think you mentioned DWork, Max. So I took that that cue and I started setting up DWork. We're not like fully using it yet. I've been making some video content, which I guess I'll come back to. But one of the things is like walking through how to do this. So we do have a DWork space set up, and we can configure it more, but at a very basic level, we have a Kanban board that we can contribute to. So it's connected to the Discord, the Fractally Discord. And if you have the Genesis Fractal role in Discord, if you're a Genesis Fractal member, then you should have the ability to do things on this board. And there's the Kanban board where we can do things with different tasks and subtasks and stuff. Matt Langston, for example, added a task to create a glossary and an index for More Equal Animals. And anyone who's a Genesis Fractal member can claim that task the way that he set it up. We can also do some other things in here, which I don't know if it's a priority to experiment with, but like with tokens and NFTs and stuff, and bounties and that kind of thing. There's open tasks. So this is an open task because of the way he configured it, where anyone can claim it. There's community suggestions. So this is kind of like just, hey, this is what I'd like to see. And then people can vote up your suggestions. And if it's getting enough interest, then that lets us know, what we might want to do. And we can configure the spaces differently. So right now we just have a space for Go Fractally, but we could have little subspaces in there. We could create additional ones. Because one community Kanban board might be crazy. So part of the reason why we're starting to do this is because we want to have visibility of what are the things that people are working on, but particularly what are the things that people can collaborate on, that they can get involved in. And this is one way that we can help with that. And also just things like, for example, we've got a backlog of stuff that some people are kind of working on, but we haven't like formally organized it. I've made some contributions to some courses in the Go Fractally site, but it's not like serious priority level stuff yet, but there are a few other people that have been contributing. And so we'll probably start documenting that stuff here more and breaking it down. But anything that's just open that someone can come in here and start working on, that would be helpful. So finally, we'll have a video on that this week. And then another thing kind of in relation to this for Discord, I set up Sobel and I integrated it. So it's synchronized. Basically, if you're a member of the Genesis Fractal, then you'll show up here in members. And if you are part of a team or something, we can manually allocate this if you're part of another Fractal. And not everyone's in the Fractally Discord, so this isn't all organized yet, but basically starting to get a visual structure of what do we really have here so far. And there's other stuff we can do inside of Sobel, and I'll be making another video on this. The idea is that most of the DAO communities are using things like Discord. Some of them are using things like dwork. Some of them are using Sobel. And these two examples with Sobel and Discord, with Sobel and dwork, they integrate with Discord. And there's lots of other things that can integrate with Discord. There's ways that you can get people to connect their wallets and stuff like that. And those, we don't have our blockchain live right now, and there's not a lot of integrations with Hive blockchain or even EOS for the way that people like things to be done right now, which is maybe something for people to take note of who are really passionate about those ecosystems, that their products are not making it easy for what people, kind of use and expect. Whereas like the Ethereum community and the Polygon communities and stuff are very much catering to the, these various types of integrations. So that's something to think about. I'm also considering maybe minting some NFTs so that we can have NFT gated access to things. So might do an NFT airdrop. I'll probably add that as a suggestion and put out a feeler and see how people are doing it. Gabriel, he tweeted out just at Dan's suggestion, his participation today, and I retweeted that. And I'm constantly shilling Fractally on Twitter. So here's like an example. This is Leah Hilpern, and she's got a little clip here where she was on Fox News talking about true democracy died a long time ago thanks to the World Economic Forum Global Agenda, which is a cool thing to be talking about on Fox or any platform like that. And I just, followed up and mentioned like, hey, it's a great time to interview Dan about his book, More Equal Animals, The Subtle Art of True Democracy. And I linked to that. And Go Fractally, Blockchain Protocol Network, DApp for DAOs, based on the learnings from BitShares, Hive, EOS, Voice, Bullish, and Eden. And I guess Dan might have saw that because he actually wrote a post and replied, I think, to her. We never had True Democracy, and he's basically hinting at Go Fractally and read this book to understand what and why we can do about it. So I do a lot of like replies like that. Most of them don't really go viral, but I have some other posts that are drawing attention. I'm doing some experimental things on Twitter at the moment with different kinds of posts. I think we're kind of running out of time, so I'm gonna just summarize by saying one of my biggest contributions right now is just trying to get ready to curate all of the projects going on in the community and make it easy for people like a new person to come in. I'm updating all of our welcome content because of our new changes. There's videos and articles that need to be changed and things other people have written that need to be changed. So I'm trying to finish that process so we don't have any outdated information from these new changes. And my main focus very recently, besides figuring out how to grow our community and make it attractive to what people are already used to, is just implementing these new changes. Like behind the scenes, it was kind of a tough process, and shout out to Gregory and Mike for doing a lot of the heavy, and Matt Langston for doing a lot of heavy lifting on the mathematical formulas, because you know, like the level of respect that you're getting today is not actually the level of respect that you're getting. Like you're actually getting a shit ton of tokens every week now, which I don't think people know yet. So the game has changed quite a bit. I'll pause there and I'll throw it over to Perry.
Thank you, Joshua. First question is, how much is a shit ton?
Well, I think right now it's based on an average of your level for the past 6 weeks. And I think the issuance is every week. There's a new issuance, and it's become deflationary. So there's a lot of tokens being allocated for the early adopters. And then over years, it gets, you know, less and less is being allocated. I believe it's how it's working. So like right now, some people have 300, 400, 500,000 tokens.
Whoa.
For the week.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, that qualifies. That's shit ton. Okay. I will make mine brief because I know we're running out of time, and Marcus hasn't gone. dnews.zone. That's what I'm doing. That's my project that I just released a few weeks ago. dnews.zone is my response to having trying to keep up with the decentralized community. I just released it a few weeks ago, but I've actually had it in a different form for a few years, and I've been using it privately to keep track of, well, at one point, the EOS community a few years ago, and then I shifted it to kind of the Ethereum ecosystem. And then just recently, in the last months, I restructured it and refocused it on the EOS community. And that's what you see now at dnews.zone. And it's really a time saver. It's what I was using to save my own time and hassle and just make it more palatable and not make myself crazy in terms of having to log into each platform and view each different type of media format. Because what DNews does is it aggregates videos, articles, and podcasts of the entire community all in one place. And then it combines that with a calendar of meetings where everybody can engage and participate in. So that's what I've been doing. I've also been trying to work out in my mind how I could turn that DNews, which is essentially a media organization, into a target for a fractal, for its own fractal, with the objective of becoming the first media organization that is truly driven by a decentralized governance. And the way I'm doing that, my approach to that, is to keep the administration of it extremely simple, of the editorial role. So if we could boil the editorial role down to the sources of the publishing sources by URL. Remember, these are it's an aggregation of feeds. And so there's a positive white list of URLs, there's a negative black list of URLs, and there's a list of events which each have a date and a URL and a time. And just that simple information, if that simple information is decided upon by a decentralized organization and then communicated to a media organization that is running something like DNews, then I think we may have our very first decentralized media organization, which is really, I think a step in the right direction. One of the other primary reasons why I created DNews is that all of our feeds are different. Even if we all follow the exact same people on YouTube and Medium and when we visit the same blogs, we're seeing different, not the case with blogs, but with the platforms, we're seeing a different stream of information. In DNews, I go directly to the source, and I'm not manipulating anything. I'm not censoring anything out. So But however, there is an editorial role in the fact that I am choosing this source and not this source. So that's where the decentralized governance comes in. So that's where I'm headed. That's where I'm going. And before I close my comments, I just want to say something about Dan and kind of give a little commercial for Dan and what he's doing. Just the amazing list. But he didn't really even emphasize what he's doing as a CD at Eden. What he's doing as a CD of Eden is extraordinary. He's holding the line. In my eyes, Dan appears to be holding the line for against an effort to centralize Eden, which is it's some. There are some people that would like to see Eden more or less centralized, and Dan is being quite brave. He's standing out on his own, and I just want to recognize that because that strikes me as quite a significant effort. He's putting himself out there. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Perry. I very much appreciate your support and all the great work that you're doing with Dinos as well. So thank you very much.
So that's all I've got. And so now I have to very quickly pass it to Marcus. I hope you have enough time. I'm sorry if I took too long.
Oh, easy, Perry. Thank you. I have enough time. I'm not taking so much time. Yeah, so I'm in the second round now with the heavyweights. Really nice, really interesting, and yeah, super interesting stuff you're doing, guys. Happy to be part of. This is my 6th meeting now, and basically I am the one who translated More Equal Animals to German, and that was my main contribution to the ƒractal, I would say, in the last year. And at the moment, I am creating a German audiobook of this translation. I can post maybe also what I did. And in the process, I am reworking the German translation, correcting some minor errors, and also adjusting the footnotes, because I put footnotes in the German version to make it easier for normal people to understand what Dan is talking about, the abbreviations, the technical terms. I created a glossary and footnotes, and I was also in the group with Matt Langston last time, and we talked about it, and he said, yeah, it would be nice to have it for the English version as well. So last week or this week, I started to translate all the footnotes I made. It's about, can I share my screen maybe? Is this possible?
Yeah, I think you can. Yep.
Okay. So I created a translation of the footnote directory from German to English. Of course, the footnotes changed a little bit, so I found other definitions. I'm also in contact with Daniel, for example, for the definition of DAO, where I wasn't sure what to take since he's the inventor. I'm sorry for the noise in the background. This is the vent of my computer, which broke down, and I think I have to change it soon.
That's okay.
Yeah, you see, this is the document I'm about to translate, or I already have the half, and it's about 51 footnotes, just to cover the basics of which people maybe don't know when they read the book and don't understand. This is the recordings I did with Logic. At the moment I am at True Democracy, and I'm trying to make the recordings as best as possible with my constructed studio here in Chiapas, and my equipment I brought to Mexico as well. It's not my main equipment I have at home in Italy, but since we moved to Mexico, it's all I have. But it sounds nice, and I also got some donations of a friend which makes soundscapes for movies, and it's going to be a really nice listening experience. That's important for me. I like to have an audiobook in a podcast format, which is really nice to hear, and I wanted it to make in a podcast format so people who don't have so much time, so they can listen to it during driving to work or while cooking. I don't know. So I'm also informing myself about different platforms where I can host these podcasts, and that's what I did in last week as well. Finding places for the podcast. Okay, I can stop the screen share now. And what did I? Yeah, moreover, I did inform about fractal democracy, and I invited a German friend I met here. He's also, he moved to Mexico and is super interested in fractal democracy. So I sent him the page and our awesome keynote video. Yeah, and that's about it, I think. So yes, that's about what I did in the last week. I got was third in the last meeting, and yes, let's find consensus. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcus. That's awesome. Sounds great. And thanks for showing it too. That helped understand it a lot better as well.
Yeah, I didn't know you were in Chiapas, by the way. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great here. We are here in the mountains on San Cristobal on 2,000 meters. Nice climate. And yeah, we basically moved here. So last week was also a lot of work to get the permanent residency because we recently got a second daughter and she's basically our entrance ticket to Mexico now. Because if you have a child here, everybody of the family can get the permanent residency. It's really nice of Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico is great.
Plus the coffee. Chiapas coffee, right?
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Okay, so we've got 12 minutes, technically 13 because there's going to be a 60-second delay when the room's closed, but let's go ahead and start the process. I'll put level 8 here in our and then whatever you guys want to do. One process some people use is they just put the name. I would suggest the name because the usernames can be kind of hard to type out. So if you just want to put the person's first name, the contributions that they're representing, which one do you think is the largest contribution relative to past compensation? And just if you don't want to use that process, suggest another one right now, but otherwise let's go ahead and use that approach. Any opinions on the approach that we use today to determine the rank order here?
Works for me.
Okay, so enter someone's name, and then raise your hand when you're ready, and we'll all press go at the same time.
It's the top one, yeah?
Yeah, the highest contribution.
Sorry?
Yeah, the highest, the person representing the highest, the greatest contribution. So we'll go from greatest to least. So this will be level 8. This will be the largest allocation of respect for this week. So I'm ready. 3, just the person's first name would be fine. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, it looks like both Josh and I have 3 votes each, I think, and I voted for Josh and Josh voted for me. Is that correct?
Oh, God.
What do you think, Dan? Do you want to change your vote?
I'm happy to go either way. I think that what you're doing is tremendously helpful in both helping to host these events, and then also like all the work that you're doing behind the scenes, what you showed us with the Discord tool and all that stuff, and then all the stuff you've done like in general, just creating like all the tutorials. I've been watching those lately and like they're super helpful. So I'm happy to go either way, but that's why I voted for you. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, well, just in the essence of time, I don't want to harp on it too much. Would you be willing to change the vote for yourself for this week?
I'd be willing if you don't want to, but also same to you. If you'd like to change the vote, then you can also go for it, and I'd be happy either way.
All right. Well, I'll leave it up to you, but let's try to make the decision here in a moment. So if you don't change your vote, then I'll change mine, and if you're willing to change your vote, then just let us know.
Okay, I suppose that I'll change my vote then.
All right. Okay, so then for level 8, we've got Dan, Singjoy, and now we'll do level 7.
Oh, sorry.
All Okay, everyone just click enter if you're ready.
Heavy fingers. Heavy fingers.
We've got 4, 5.
I think that's a full house.
Okay. All right. So Dan and then Josh. Now we'll do level 6, the next greatest contribution.
And are we voting for ourselves or not? I didn't figure that out.
Yeah, you can vote for yourself. Yeah. Okay, raise your hand if you're ready. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Oh,
Looks like Mark.
1,
oh, yeah,
2,
cool.
3, 4. Yeah, we've got consensus on Mark. Okay. Level 5. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, it looks like there's consensus on Marcus, 4-6.
Okay. Level 4. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
That one was also difficult because I really do appreciate what and Max brought and inviting people, and it seems like the businesses that you're doing seem really helpful. But then also I really appreciate the D news that Perry and then also Perry advocating for Eden Practical and spending time and helping us there. I really appreciate that as well.
Yeah, I think another thing to consider is Perry's basically a full-time member at this point in terms of the number of meetings he's participated in, like in the last 12 weeks. But definitely want to see and hear more from you, Max. If you see value in what's going on here.
Really, it's great what I have in the moment, because I really understand what I need to do. I have more ideas how I can contribute the next week. So it's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and feel free to reach
Awesome.
out to other members and collaborate, as well. And practice sharing your contributions. Different approaches. Sometimes a list psychologically affects people. You've got dancing joy style presentation like a streamer, which he can almost say anything and it just looks good.
So the hippopotamus went up the ocean.
The fire hose.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's like kind of, how deep can you deploy a picture of your value if the whole audience goes, wow, like in one image, and like, Elon Musk is here or something, who knows? It's just interesting as can be. So
I do think, Joshua, it's what do you start with D work? It's really help people to onboarding in Fractally, because it's really it was trouble for me to start understand how I can help. But after first meeting, you really understand you can make whatever you want, but you need to you don't have rules. You need to start to help community grow. But just after first meeting, you catch it. It's
Yeah, any feedback and suggestions you have on what community members can do to make the onboarding process better? I think that's definitely a big bottleneck for us. It's going to be a horrible bottleneck until we get the blockchain going, I think. But I think there's things we can do, taking notes from other communities that they're barely even real DAOs, but they're doing stuff and people enjoy the experience and all of that. And I think having fun and making things easier is probably more valuable than being ideological, at least in the short term.
Yep, I agree. And I see you're going to speak, Mark, but I was going to say, Max, please feel free to reach out to me. And then also, as Josh was saying, there's lots of people in the community. If you ever want to just ask questions or collaborate or discuss, I'm looking forward to working with you. I'm also planning to share a tutorial about this presentation style at some point soon. And then also the way that like Marcus and Mark also did it, and Josh was great too. But yeah, I just want to say that. And Mark, what were you going to say?
Well, I don't remember, but basically,
Okay.
I could say a couple things. One priority would be I recommend everyone go to the link that I've just posted into this chat and record as a reply the sequence comma delimited that I posted about 2 minutes ago up there. It's all listed out, and that's as a reply to that, just as we did an hour ago.
Yeah, I made
Mark.
mine and everything looks correct in terms of usernames, but if you guys just want to scan again, because if it's not correct, we should probably repost. And thanks for putting that string together, Mark.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Mine is good.
Just a question regarding your overview on Go Fractally. Where could I apply for this work Matt Langston gave out? Because I'm doing it at the moment. So can I log in there and or can you give me the
Are you
chart?
are you in the Discord?
I don't think so yet. No.
Okay, let me find the invite link.
Because this looks really helpful, and I love to understand how this is working.
Okay, I'm going to post this in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
So you can join the Discord. If you don't have an account, you'll probably have to create one.
No, I have one.
I always wonder where to post that kind of stuff inside Discord, but I always have to go to the browser since it's a URL.
Well, if you open it in the browser, then it should open up the Discord app if you have the app downloaded.
Yeah, it sounds like that's just the way you do it. Just go through the browser
Mm-hmm.
and a bunch of stuff. Keep linking to, you want to open, set the invite in the browser, then open in the actual app. Yes, allow. And then I'm on the add friend page. It's always like this. I'm like, where am I? So that link brought me to an add friend dialog.
So Max, you're saying, oh, I'm sorry.
That invite link brought you to an add friend dialog?
That's right. Through when I did it through the browser, so it landed me on an add friend dialog in my app, and then at the bottom I added a server at the bottom, and I put in the HTML link, and that was successful. So I'm on Fractally now. Thanks, Josh.
So that Max, that link I generated didn't work, or you just generated another one?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, Max, is there any way that we can learn more about your work? Do you have any links to websites or accounts or anything like that where you can check out more of what you're doing?
About my work?
Yeah, I mean, I try to remember what you said before, but you're talking about how you're working with different companies and you invited a bunch of friends to join the Fractally. So I'm just wondering if you had anything that you'd like to share. If there's something you'd like to share, that's okay. But I was just wondering if you did have anything that would be cool to check out.
Well, I think what Max was saying is that like he wants to get startups that he's working with using fractal governance. And that's part of why he's participating here. But yeah, anything the community can do to learn more about you and be more familiar with the work that you're doing and stuff like that, I think will be helpful, Matt, if you want to share that.
Yeah. It's great. I will start it.
Okay.
Mark, are you posting anywhere? Mark? Are you posting anywhere particularly? Do you have a Medium account, or are you
It's only
doing any of
just 5
that?
seconds left. Thanks, everybody.
Right now, mostly on Notion.
Yep. Now that more you coming back, I'm guessing the latecomers were coming down to the wire. We're just wondering how fast consensus went. My group had over 15 minutes left. Brandon's group had 10 plus minutes left. Anyone run out of time?
You ran out of time.
Wow. Did you reach consensus or do you completely run out of
We
time?
did, but we didn't get a chance to copy everything down, so we don't have a way to post it.
I think we got it.
Yeah, we got it.
We got it. At the very last, down to the wire.
I was interrupted in the middle of saying I will take the bottom level, so it was like literally to the last second.
Yeah.
All right.
We had I was in the room with Brandon, and he had a very strict 3-minute timer, which was very valuable. He let us know when we were at our time, and it really, I really value when people step up and do that during my group consensus meetings.
Yep. We have to contemplate that for the UI. We're going to rely on manual timekeeping just because it can adapt to the room instead of to the machine. But yeah, it's a objective way to keep people honest about the time usage without offending people. And no one likes to interrupt and say you're talking too long. Next, but you know, I do think that does help things move along. All right.
Mike, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to acknowledge Andrew's background. That's all.
Boo, boo. All right, I'm not gonna.
Is that Dune? What is that?
It's a band called Sleep. It's an hour-long song called Jerusalem/Dope Smoker.
63-minute song about smoking dope in the desert.
Yeah, drop out of life with bong in hand. It's
You guys are funny.
Pretty silly, but I thought I'd shout it.
Guys, I just posted our consensus so you can find it there. For those who are in our group.
All right. While we have everyone here, this was our second week of the 2-round model. Any questions or feedback on how you think this is going?
I'll just say I think it's going well. I mean, it's fun doing the second round and getting to meet everybody for the second time. It's kind of like heading more fun into one meeting and meeting with more people and seeing more of what people are doing. That's another cool effect too, that you get to see what twice as many people are doing and communicate and network and so forth with many more people. So that's cool. And then there's also like that kind of cool competitive environment where there's more at stake for people to do more too. So that's also a cool thing as well.
Jason?
I think the intended result of getting more accurate ranking of contributions is happening for sure. Because I was in a room where I clearly out contributed everybody in the room. And if the two people behind me, you know, one of them, it was his second or third meeting. And so if he had ranked 654, if he had ranked a 4, in that meeting, it just would have been inconsistent with someone who ranked a 4 in the second round. It's just been a very unequal contributions getting the same ranking. So I think the intended result is happening, and the opposite has happened numerous times. Like a couple of weeks ago, before we started the new process, I was in a room with Dan and Val and maybe one, Dan, Val, and Brandon, and maybe one other employee, and somebody in that room had to rank 2, right? I ranked 1, it was clear, but somebody in that room had to rank 2, and that was inconsistent with the contribution there. So taking the top half and figuring out, you know, of those people who clearly contributed a lot more than the others, where do they rank against each other makes a lot more sense. And I think it's producing a lot better resolution on what gets contributed and how that gets ranked.
Good feedback. Felix.
Yeah, I would like, I guess, kind of add an alternate viewpoint from what Jason just said. I found this last round was tough because that was we had a bunch of power hitters in that room, and so it was very hard for us to reach consensus. And the team aspect's starting to come into play too. I don't like it's hard for me to advocate for myself, but it's easier when I'm representing my team too. So things are like the way I'm thinking about things too. I'm thinking very much of like, how's my team being represented, and kind of being a leader in the team means I have to advocate for myself as well to get represented. But it was tough. I felt like this was the toughest room I had with reaching consensus, probably in all of my Fractally meetings. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess time will tell. But yeah, it's kind of, it was weird. It's like you have one where it was like really easy, but then one where it was very hard. So it's probably all part of the randomization. But as we grow, will that become easier? I would think so. But in this instance, this was a very tough room for me.
Yeah, I think the fact that sometimes it's hard and sometimes it's easy is also a good characteristic. Sometimes doing hard things is actually where you get the most meaning out of it. If it's always very easy, then you're not having to think, you're not having to weigh too much, but you're like really like getting down into the details when it's hard. And I think that that provides value to the entire group when it is hard. And when it's easy, that's also nice for the people that are in the group. You get to spend 10 minutes talking and getting to know each other or whatnot, but it's not, you're not providing as much global value to everyone else when it's really easy in your group. So I think that's, I'm glad it's not hard all the time, but I'm also glad that it's hard sometimes, because I think that means it's working. Eric.
Well, the first round is easier. I thought it'd be the second round is tougher, but the second round is really good, being able to learn more about people and see what we're doing. One of the real challenge we have is we have, besides such heavy hitters, is such difference in contributions from everything from Stan with the business side and from Felix with the promotion side. It was just that's one of the problems is when you start ranking these, there's no disagreement that all those conditions are valuable. One of the interesting things was that Gregory went back and read, yeah, but this is the charter of the Genesis fractal. And that kind of helps put things back. I think we tend to get lost on what's good and what's impressive versus what are we trying to do specifically here. And I thought it was very helpful that Gregory did that.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that a little bit more. As the community grows, the council, the team leaders get to come together and adapt and expand the community charter. And in doing so, set the guidelines by which people should be judging things. And in that way, we can kind of make certain decisions at a global level that we value this type of thing and we don't value this other thing at all. And encourage people, as you're ranking things, to rank relative to the consensus goals, not relative to your personal goals. And your personal goals, I guess, should factor into picking the council and everything else. But once the council has filtered out the actual goals, we can get more alignment in a particular direction. And then everyone can start rowing by judging in that direction instead of judging in their personal direction. And I think that will help increase the momentum in that particular direction. Right now, we've got very simple and very broad general goals here. But I think as this expands, we'll be able to get more specific goals, more guidelines. I think the shovel-ready jobs, we can reach consensus on those types of things. Like, did you post your contributions to Twitter? Did you like other things? More measurable things that we can start looking at. realizing that as soon as you start measuring things, you start biasing the output toward gaining those measurements instead of whatever the real goal is. The measurements are just a proxy to, but that is some things to consider there. So does anyone feel like we need more time to experiment with this, or do you think we should start trying to experiment with our new UI next week? And I guess I'll let Brandon speak if he feels that we are ready to deploy and try to use that next week.
Yeah, I think that we need to get together and talk about the logistics. I think the software is ready to test. I don't know if we should, put everybody on there immediately. One of the things I'm concerned about is whenever we start using that UI and we move to video and audio in that, if anyone does have any trouble, the group might want to come back to Zoom. But how does that work with a group leaving Zoom and then coming back to Zoom? Is that going to introduce friction? So I think that maybe this week we should set the goal to at least
you can set it up so that
come up
you
with a
mute,
plan.
You stay on Zoom, you mute Zoom, you mute your video on Zoom, you go to the other thing. If there's any problems over there, you've got the Zoom window ready to go as well. But I think at the very least next week, I'd like to have, try to do an internal demo of the UI for another consensus, just so you can see it in its final state. And we'll just demo that UI next week, and then maybe the week after that, we can actually put it in use after getting any feedback there is.
Yeah, and one thing I'd propose too real quick here is that whenever we do roll out the UI, and hopefully next week we're doing that, we roll it out in the rooms that we Fractally people are in, so that we can be there to offer guidance and kind of train up the first set of demo users, so that in the following week, most people will have somebody in their room who has already had some experience with it and can help their groups use it.
Absolutely.
I think that's a really great plan.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jason.
I was going to ask Brandon if he had a plan for something like that. But specifically, are your concerns about the new UI about the functionality at a larger scale, or are they about 100% are the users going to use it effectively? So are you, which side? Are they the tech side or the user side?
Look, we've tested this internally, and it's worked very well, both technologically and in providing a good user experience. But will it stand up against the scrutiny of the larger community, right? So I think the concerns are just, any concern you'd have with any new piece of software that you're putting out there. How well and how smoothly is it going to function for everybody if one person has a poor internet connection, but Zoom works more reliably, are people going to want to go back to Zoom? And then secondly, what is the feedback we're getting? We may think it's really great. We may put it out there in the community, and the community thinks, well, this has some real problems. You need to go back to the drawing board. Although I really don't think that's going to be the case. I think everyone's going to really like this UI and the way it works. Just don't want to make any assumptions in that.
And I'm going to go ahead and suggest that we only do it in round 2, and that we adjust the schedule for round 2 to give 5-minute setup time for the new UI when we deploy it, so it's not eating into our broader consensus frame. Maybe we enter the groups 5 minutes early, and then we'll work with Joshua on that to just make sure that there's an opportunity to work out those kinks without taking away from the consensus time.
Another thing I'd suggest that you could do previous to that is see if anybody in the community wants to get on as a test run and just run through it. So you're dealing with people outside of the Fractally group, outside of the people who developed it, people who've never seen it before, and just see what it looks like in the wild, and just get a couple of extra people, maybe 10 or 15 to get on there and get split up into groups and see how they react.
Yeah,
that's good feedback.
That was a very nonchalant conversation to start. Oh, so you guys want to use the new UI next week?
Dan Singjoy?
Thanks, Dan, and yeah, thanks for everything. I wrote down a couple of notes. So one, I'm sure that you thought of this, but just a note that like people's computers might not be able to handle both the Zoom and the new UI at the same time if it's resource intensive. I don't know. And then a few questions I had. One, I know that I think that like the preview that you guys showed, the really funny video, was on mobile, but I'm wondering if it's going to be available on both desktop and mobile. And I'm also wondering if it'll have recording ability and if there will be a list of features, like a comparison of features perhaps with Zoom, like what it doesn't have and stuff like that. So yeah, and then I'm wondering exactly when we'll know if we'll do it next week or when we'll do it at a different time.
We're going to demo it next. We're going to try to have a demo video next week. And then I don't think we're going to deploy it next week, but we'll try to make it available for groups that want to experiment with it during the week to experiment with it. And then the following week, if everything goes well, we'll allow some groups to opt into using it. And then eventually we'll make it standard practice. I think is probably something along those lines. We'll figure it out. I just wanted to indicate, are we satisfied that we've mastered the kinks out of this 2-round process before we try introducing yet another change into how things operate or not? That was the real intent of the conversation.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
So as far as some of your other questions, it's a web app, so it works with any browser with WebRTC, which means mobile and desktop. It's designed so it works on mobile, but it works just as well on your desktop. It might look a little mobile-ish on the desktop, but it will be usable nonetheless. You can, I guess, any tool that allows you to record your desktop could potentially be used to record it, but there's no built-in record and download functionality at this stage. The main thing that Zoom offers that we don't is chat right now. Chat's a coming feature. We got a tab for it. As far as the question about resources, if you mute Zoom and you mute your video, Zoom in theory shouldn't be using any resources while you're using the other video app. But so you can only have, and you can also mute video and audio on the other app. So as long as if your computer's limited on resources, you can, or your internet connection is poor, then you'll be able to do that. So I think that handles that. And I believe I addressed all your questions. Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight something that I see as, let's call it a UX sticking point for the 2-round thing. And then my guess is this will be addressed. It's a Zoom issue right now. So my guess is this will be addressed with the UI, but I just wanted to highlight it because to me, it's a really important thing. And that is when we kick people off of the Zoom meeting because they don't want to be, or because they have not ascended to the next round, I see that as like kind of
antisocial.
Yeah, it's like just like kind of unnecessarily cutting the community in half and making us feel like we're not part of the same group. And I get the reasoning for that. We don't want them kind of going in there. It seems like if we are going to be using the second round with the new UI and then the old one, or the first round will be with Zoom. In that case, we can just keep the Zoom room open, and in which case it will, we will still be able to have people hanging out and talking and feeling like they're part of the community and they're like sort of having a say and stuff.
Well, the new UI is not doing the randomization. We're still using Zoom to do the breakout rooms. Okay. But that might mean, yeah. So we need to work on that. I think that's a 1 or 2 more weeks to work out the kinks so that we're not kicking people out of the main Zoom, and we can allow people who want to hang out and chat to hang out and chat. But yeah, Thomas.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, just.
I had some just general feedback on as far as like level 3 in round 1 and level 3 in round 2. Like my original, I made it to round 2 each of the past 2 weeks, and I got level 4, but you know, it was probably close. But I was thinking about it last week, and I was thinking like people who average level 3 might feel at a disadvantage, because if you like average a level 3, whether it be round 1, you get a level 3, and then if you get to round 2, and historically you're an average of level 3, there's a great chance that you're probably going to get the lowest rank in round 2, because there's like a lot of high contributors. So like kind of last week I was thinking that was like almost like a disadvantage to a certain group of people that would be level 3. But having experienced it again this week, I felt a little different about it. Like I did have the chance this week to, advance or not. The consensus was, flexible there. I actually voted for Pascal, but he lost his communication. So we were both very close. So I went to round 2 and I got level 4. So my point I'm making is I've evolved on that a little bit. And I think one benefit of this conundrum is there might be an incentive for the level 3 people. Kind of is a unique crowd because they, their contributions are, almost unpredictable. But I think it does incentivize them to maybe try harder and try to contribute more, because you're kind of on the cusp of getting to higher levels. So I think that I feel better about the level 3 round 1, level 3 in round 2. I feel better this week about it than I did last week. And I just wanted to offer some feedback from, I'm historically roughly a level 3. So just some kind of thoughts on that.
Those are some good feedback. One of the interesting things I see about the level 3 is it forces each user, each person to be really, really honest about whether or not they think they have a chance going up. You can't just promote yourself because you're promoting yourself, because you might just be committing yourself to more time in the process and not actually get anywhere, which encourages negotiation in round 1 to hopefully, I'm probably just going to get round level 3 next time anyway. So I'm just going to stay here and save the time and let someone else advance. And it forces those 2 people to negotiate who they think has a better chance at advancing. There's another option that's available now that we've got a continuous curve and we're averaging things over time. It's entirely possible to introduce a level 3.5 or something along those lines, so that it's not by advancing you do get some bonus, but it's not as much of a bonus as going to a whole nother Fibonacci level. And so we can consider some of those things. I think it's going to take a little bit more experimentation to see if that's the case. If sometimes, yeah, anyway, thanks for the feedback. Jorge.
Yeah, thank you. Regarding that thing you just say about those 2 people negotiating whether they really want to go to the second round, I wanted to say that, well, yeah, that's the ideal, but the time interval we are having is really, really short to have all these kind of different negotiations. For example, first dividing the group in 2 and then choosing who is going to go to that second round, and in the middle, the people that is doubtful whether they are going to make it better on the second round or not. So I want to stress that really short possibility of going deeper into a good negotiation. It's the way I felt it today in my room was a result based on a lot of emotionality. Second, I have always been a strong advocate against self-ranking, and recently with Jordan Ackerman's post about the self-dipping effect, produced by teams. And today in my breakout room, I noticed that still people is showing the whole team contributions as their own. When some person does that, it gets really overwhelming to compare those contributions made by a whole team versus the contributions made by one single person. And the point I'm trying to make is that this double dipping effect gets amplified by self-ranking. And on top of this, I see these results produced by research done, for example, by Matt Langston and Jordan Ackerman and myself that are still popping up. So, and they will still keep popping up.
With the new UI, the self-voting concept doesn't really express itself like it does with how we've been doing it in Zoom. So I think that will help some of those things. And I think what we're learning is when it comes to judging teams, or we're judging individual contributions, and you need to talk. You should not give an individual credit for their team. You should give them credit for their contribution to their team, which is individual contribution, not team contribution.
Yeah, but the point is that that's really hard to discern, because what people is doing is they are presenting within the breakout rooms the presentation of the whole team's contributions, and for the group, it's really hard to discern what part of those contributions were done by that specific person. And that's point one. The second point, I know the UI will pretty much diffuse this self-ranking problem that I see. So what I'm trying to say is that if you guys could please leave within the UI the option of not self-ranking, because that will be relevant, for example, for new fractals that want to implement it. And this is my last point. I wanted to let you guys know that we are launching the Spanish speaking initially team, but hopefully new fractal, and that we would like to implement this. So we would like to have that as an option in the UI.
I'll have to think about what that would even mean with respect to the UI, but thanks. All good things to consider. The nice thing about subjective governance is that if enough people agree, then you're in a room and there's no restraints on how that particular group of people chooses to reach consensus. The only real requirement is that consensus is reached. And so that's gives us some flexibility to make sure it's accurately reflecting. And if team double dipping is a problem, and those of us here who think it's a problem, those who don't think it's a problem, it's going to average out in how we choose to rank people. You say, oh, they're on a team, they're getting extra. We're going to downrank them because they're double dipping, or maybe they're. And I know basically we can factor those things in individually as we go through the process. One of the things that I've learned just trying to do economic models of anything in an economy, anytime you fix one variable, everything else in the economy shifts to try to neutralize the thing you fixed. So if you eliminate self-ranking, everything else was going to adjust towards some result. If you, so no matter what constants you pick or interest rates you set or whatnot, people will adjust. So just by talking, by reaching consensus, people will factor in all of these things and adjust and include them in subtle ways into the final outcome. It really creates paradoxes where the government tries to fix price and now you got shortage. they try to subsidize and it ends up doing the wrong thing. And you know, you start paying people to bring you dead snakes and they start breeding snakes. The goal was to get rid of snakes, and now you got people breeding snakes. That's the problem that we face as we're trying to do all the mechanism design of these systems. And if you try to, I guess, overtly prevent double dipping in certain sense, then people will try to compensate if you allow this. So to the extent we have a maximum flexibility in individual judgment, we minimize people attempting to work around it to get the result they want. So if people want a particular project funded, they may act in a way that causes it to get funded on a end justifies the means kind of thinking. And I think that's the biggest danger any community can face, is when we use end justifies the means thinking. And that's it creeps into all areas of life in a very subtle way. Because we're goal oriented. There's some end that we want to achieve, and we'll pull whatever levers we think will get us there. But we have to make sure that as we're pulling the levers that are presented to us, that the means is respected and the means is self-justifying. And that's honoring the spirit of what's going on. So the spirit of what we're up to here is that each individual is being recognized by the community for their individual contributions. And there's two ways the community recognizes an individual. One is by a random jury of the peers, and one is by their team reaching consensus on that individual's contribution to their team. But the goal that we all have is no person should be getting a free ride or compensated disproportionate to their contribution as subjectively judged by everyone. So if someone sees someone getting unjustly enriched, or some group of people, that's going to be obvious. There's going to be discussions about who those people are, and people are starting to be downranking. They might still be on a team, but their team members are going to rank lower. And all those things will balance out in the end, is I guess what I'm hoping, if we keep our eye on the ball. And the eye on the ball is we're trying to allocate value to individuals proportional to that individual's contribution, because only individuals can contribute. And the team mechanism is just an intermediate filter to get it down to the individuals. And so you look at the total compensation an individual has received, both by the random groups, by the random groups, and from their team. In future meetings, you say, well, what did your team pay you last week? Right? And if your team's not paying you very much, or relative to that, then that's useful information about your individual contribution relative to your team contribution. And maybe, and that's a stat that we could gather and display, is that this person's on this team, they're ranked X, but the team is only giving them 1% of the income. Maybe we shouldn't rank them so high if the team doesn't think they're making that big of a contribution to their team. And maybe teams reach consensus on their own ranking internally, and you get to see where your rank is in your team. And when you're in a meeting, that's a number that can be easily provided. I'm brainstorming on the fly here, just to say I recognize the challenge we're facing. Dan?
Thanks, Dan. Fascinating thoughts. I just had a quick question about the ƒractal contributor agreement. If you had any updates or timelines about that. I think you said the next week or two last week, but I don't quite remember, and wondering if you had any updates to share.
Yeah, we met with the attorney 2 weeks ago. They said that they were going to get it back to us within 2 weeks. I guess Gregory is the one that talks to them most often. I don't know that I haven't seen it yet, but that's we're just waiting on the third party to get back to us. My goal is to get it out by the time the testnet or the open source project is released.
Sounds great. Thanks, Dan. And thanks, Gregory, too.
So there was a lot of comments here on the subject of teams, and one thing that I don't know if you want to comment on this, Dan, but there behind the scenes, I know you and the team have been working on some new definitions, like maybe like an addendum 2 or something. It hasn't been published or proposed. That doesn't fully address some of the specific things we're talking about, but it does kind of change, definitions of what a part-time or a full-time member is, and then what are the qualifications for a team.
Sure. I guess I discussed this briefly a long time in a meeting ago. Part of the new contributor agreement is trying to define terms that help us identify teams in a concise way. And one of the requirements for it is we have full-time members and part-time members. A full-time member is anyone who's here at least 2/3 of the time in the past 12 weeks. Part-time member is anyone who shows up at least once in the past 12 weeks. A team can only be composed of full-time members, and you have to have at least 4 full-time members to be on a team. That's what we're looking at for the agreement. The goal there is to encourage team members need to encourage other team members to show up and be reliable and be consistent, and that's going to be, I guess, a bias in the system, which really prohibits passive teams or say, oh, we're going to get together, we're just going to form a team of new people, and none of us are really reliable. So there's some finer points on some of these definitions, and I'm going to get them wrong if I just try to recall them all from memory right now. But by defining teams in terms of full-time members, and then council members in terms of teams and team leaders, like we got these very concise definitions of what these things are, and the emergent property causes things to unfold. So if you have a team and you're on the edge, right? One of your team members drops below full-time status, your team is now no longer an official team. It might be a group of people, but it's not qualifying for matching funds. And so those are some of the things that are being outlined in the contributor agreement, because the contributor agreement part 2, and part of the thing is making this take a little bit longer, is kind of like a white paper part 2, because the agreement needs to outline the process that we're going through as part of the agreement as it's going to govern an unincorporated nonprofit association. So it needs to be precise enough in definitions, in terms, and procedure that we can follow it manually, and then reflect it in the smart contract code as things evolve. So it's going to be a more precise document than the current ƒractal contributors agreement, but also include a lot of the language there. It's taken the lawyers longer because we've got unique legal theories around the definition of property, around the definition of opinions, and crypto tokens, securities laws, money transmission laws. All those things make getting this agreement right very challenging, and involves a lot of different areas of the law. And quite frankly, attorneys, they think inside the box 99% of the time. So you gotta, it takes a bit longer to open their eyes to another way of looking at things, but we're making really good progress there.
I'll add it's as Dan pointed out, it's incredibly complex. It's unique. It's an area for which there is insufficient traction, and yet for all of us, demand to produce a document that equally protects all of us. And as such, we want to get it right. Granted, I'm sure there will be iterations. I am speaking with and working with 2 separate law firms, not just one, to get a more diverse opinion with regards to various points. But yes, I also realize the upcoming deadline in which this document should be produced, and we'll get it there.
Yeah, it always takes everything with lawyers takes longer than you want it to take, but I promise you I'm doing everything I can to avoid getting into the legal weeds and tying things down the way things that happened at Block 1. We're not falling into that trap, and I'm really happy with the direction we're going. Jorge.
Yes, I just said that we are starting the ƒractal Spanish-speaking team, and regarding that, I would like to introduce you guys to Carlos Rizos. He's a new member. This is maybe his second meeting here, so please welcome him. Any Spanish speaker who wants to join this ƒractal process, please go to him. He will walk you through the Hive process, account opening and all that. So I wanted to officially welcome Carlos, and I would like you guys to give him a stronger applause. And so, Carlos, feel welcome and take you the word.
Buenas, Carlos.
Yes, gracias, gracias.
Yeah, thanks Jorge
Thank you.
for giving Carlos a shout out, and it was great to be in a room with you today, Carlos.
All right. Well, we've been here a really long time, having an after meeting, after 2 concessions and a pre-meeting. This is taking quite a bit of time on everyone's Saturday. I want to be respectful. I'm so glad that you guys are all so passionate to hang on for this long. I know it's just like so much fun, but thank you so much. And I will see you next week.
All right, everyone. Enjoy your weekends. We'll see you next week.
Bye.